good morning to you. It's 5 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got to watch out. There's a little bit of fog in some spots out there this morning. 64 degrees now, and your forecast is still to come. The trial of former Marine Daniel Penny begins today in New York City. Penny, you may remember, he's the one charged with killing a man who had been threatening other riders on a subway train in New York City.
Penny has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. The white Marine veteran put a black man acting erratically in a New York City subway car into a fatal chokehold last year. Witnesses say the man, Jordan Neely, had been shouting and demanding money when Penny approached him.
ABC's Chuck Sievert's in there. Now, among the jurors who were seated, 3 strap hangers who say they had been harassed on the transit system in the past. A woman in Wilson County is facing voter fraud charges after she voted illegally or registered illegally. It's not clear exactly what she did to gain the attention of authorities, but her name is Eric Waterbury. She has a court date set for November 27th. The DA said she had been charged with a felony and could face a penalty of 2 to 4 years in prison and a maximum fine of $5,000. Wilson County schools are experiencing a bus driver shortage, and some parents say kids are not even getting to school.
If I didn't drive her, my daughter would be missing multiple days of school every single week, which I can't imagine she would be able to pass.
The school says it has increased pay, added benefits, and they're trying to hire more drivers quickly. They'll need 5 to 10 more drivers to end the bus driver crisis there. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The NASDAQ led a sell-off, spurred by strong earnings reports from Meta and Microsoft. Both companies have soared in recent years thanks to growth in artificial intelligence. But critics say the stock climbed too fast, making them too expensive. The Dow lost 378 points. The S&P dropped 108. The tech-heavy NASDAQ fell 513 points. The S&P and NASDAQ recording their worst day in over a month. Treasury yields moved lower on 2 economic reports. One says prices slowed to 2% in September, nearing the Fed's target. Another report shows growth in worker wages and benefits slowed during the summer. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings sailed 7% higher on a stronger than expected profit report. According to the Pentagon audit, Boeing has overcharged the Air Force on spare parts for a major cargo plane, including the price of lavatory soap dispensers. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Now, stock futures pointing up nicely this morning. The Dow futures are up 100 points. The NASDAQ up 72, and the S&P 500 index futures are up 17 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, other than those spots of fog in some areas this morning, there's really no problems on the roads because it rained last night. Not a whole lot of construction set up, but we do have that the I-40 South Loop westbound off-ramp to exit 210, just the left lane available to traffic. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Finally, a Friday, November 1st. And, man, we are just, 4 days away? So it's going to get very interesting. And, man, I got to tell you, it is really fascinating to watch the Democrats as they try to recover from, number one, you have the Joe Biden garbage comment. Also, Mark Cuban. We touched on this yesterday, but just touched on it, where Mark Cuban basically said that Donald Trump has no strong, intelligent women around him. I couldn't believe that he said this. I've got both of these stories and a whole lot more. Very busy morning here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Democrats also lying, and I had a whole big thing on them lying yesterday. Donald Trump being blasted for wanting to protect women. That is also in the news. But just very quickly, I do want to talk about Mark Cuban and what he said regarding the Trump administration, previously Donald Trump's campaign as well. This is what Mark Cuban said, and he was on The View.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Now, no one on The View had anything to say about that
Not
at
even
all.
Alyssa Farah, who is a former member of the Trump team.
That's right.
Unbelievable that she let him get away with that.
It is so stunning.
She has just let
hypocrisy.
herself just be consumed by the left.
Well, she's a sellout.
Yeah.
Actually, isn't that like the definition of a sellout? When Mark Cuban says
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
And you're one of those women? Oh my goodness gracious. I couldn't believe it. So Cuban, and here's the thing now, they're trying to sort of figure out how to respond to this. Is it just me, Joan? Or does every single surrogate out there make a mistake in trying to help Kamala Harris, but they end up hurting her? Whether it's Barack Obama calling black men who don't support Kamala Harris as misogynist and sexist, right?
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing?
Yes.
That was a disaster. Now you have, of course, Tim Walz. He makes mistakes all the time. Now you've got Mark Cuban. You've got, of course, Joe Biden with the whole garbage comment. And it's almost like you've got all of these people surrounding Kamala Harris who just, they're making mistakes after mistake after mistake.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Now, what's interesting is that the internet is answering Mark Cuban. And you've got all of these women. I don't know if you've seen this, but on X, you've got a lot of women who have previously worked with Donald Trump that are saying, and are affiliated with him now, that are saying, Cuban, you clearly are wrong. Like, for example, Kellyanne Conway.
Hey, it's Kellyanne Conway with a special message for Mark Cuban and all the other misogynists that support Kamala Harris and love to spew hateful, divisive, sexist rhetoric.
Yeah, she's standing there in front of the Ellipse and the White House.
Recognize this place? This is the Ellipse, where presently a strong, intelligent woman is speaking without a teleprompter. Recognize that place? That's the White House. Your handpicked candidate, Hillary Clinton, lived there as wife of a president, but not as the president. Donald J. Trump beat her, in part because he is unafraid to surround himself with strong, intelligent, capable men and women.
What's interesting about Mark Cuban's comment is that he said ever. Like, he said Donald Trump has never, ever been around strong, intelligent women. Kellyanne Conway was one of the main contributors to Donald Trump's victory in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. And you look at, of course, Melania Trump, you look at Ivanka, you look at all the people that are Laura Trump as well. I mean, where does Mark Cuban get off saying what he said? And so now, again, you've got all of these women that are either previously affiliated with Donald Trump or supporters of Donald Trump that are calling out Mark Cuban and the ridiculous comment. Sage Steele got into the mix. Now, if you don't know who Sage Steele is, she used to be on ESPN. Now she is a Donald Trump supporter and a podcaster.
And what you just said there is disrespectful, and it crosses the line. How about Tulsi Gabbard? Let me ask you about Tulsi, your friend Tulsi, right? At the end of the day, if she had not left the Democratic Party, I bet that you would think that she's strong and intelligent, but because she crossed the line, she's not?
Right. I mean, the hypocrisy of all of this. And then you have Alveda King, who is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Cuban's words are mean, sad, and misogynistic. And the left can't even define what a woman is. I am evangelist Alveda King.
Yeah, and she supports Donald Trump. Riley Gaines, of course, from right here in Middle Tennessee.
So if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a school teacher, if you are a U.S. military member, and you are a woman and a Trump supporter, then to Mark Cuban, you are stupid and weak.
I mean, it goes on and on. Hope Moreland.
Disgusting and misogynistic. The left can't even define what a woman is. My name is Hope Moreland, and I support President Trump.
I mean, there are videos, and this has just been in the past couple of hours. I was not able to find Tulsi Gabbard, and I only had a couple of seconds to prepare for this particular segment. So if Tulsi Gabbard's video is out there, somebody on the super text line, if you would, send me the link, crowdsource this segment. But I'm sure that Tulsi Gabbard does have something to say about what Mark Cuban had to say. And so what's interesting is as this conversation continues across America, you still have Kamala Harris and the Democrats and the media going on and on about Donald Trump. Remember, we talked about this yesterday, where he said that he wanted to protect women. Remember this.
And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say, so why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
So reaction to Trump's comments about protecting women, it does continue. This is the insanity that the left is having to go to and the media is having to go to try and swing this election Kamala Harris's way. Because, and I know that you're not going to be shocked by this, basically what they're doing is they're taking Trump's comments way out of context. This is the proper context where Donald Trump, as I pointed out yesterday, was talking about protecting women from illegal immigration.
Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions all over the world, from Venezuela to the Congo, including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women and girls. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office.
And the crowd goes wild. That is, of course, Donald Trump. So the protect the women comment was about the border. And I believe that his comment about whether women like it or not, which is part of what the left is agitating over, is aimed at the women who are going to or have voted for Kamala Harris. Basically, what Donald Trump is saying is more unifying than Kamala Harris and the left have ever been. Because Trump is saying, whether you vote for Kamala Harris, whether you vote for me, I'm going to protect you. And clearly there's nothing wrong with that. But what the left is doing, and we did talk about this yesterday, and they are really leaning into this, is they're taking Trump out of context and they're saying, oh, this is about abortion, as opposed to being about illegal immigration. Details straight ahead, 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Just a little bit of fog in a few spots this morning, so be careful as you're traveling. And then you've got road work, the I-40 South Loop westbound off-ramp to 210B. That is still it's no construction there this morning because of the rain last night, but it is still blocked off in those two right lanes, so you've only got the left lane available. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:16 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So talking about the left and their, you know what, Joan, I got to call an audible.
Oh, really?
So CNN has this, I will finish that, but CNN has this headline.
Okay.
Trump says of Liz Cheney, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. I don't even know this story, but I can tell you that what he's talking about is Liz Cheney and her support of Ukraine and her being I'm going to air quote this, a war hawk. And what I don't even know the story, but I'm just telling you, just from a guy who's, reasonably well-read, that he is saying that let's see how much of a war hawk she is if she has to go into battle.
Here you go. Ready?
Oh, you got it?
Well, I have the cut. I also have a bit of the framing around it. Former President Donald Trump, he was in an event with Tucker Carlson in the Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona last night, going after Liz Cheney over, yes, her war hawk reputation, her past.
Sure.
He said she is a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? And if you want, let me see if I can actually.
Yeah, see if you can play the cut.
Let's see if this will work. We'll put this up here.
Because, we've had a really great week with computers.
Oh, yeah. It's been wonderful. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah, go.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I didn't even know the story. And I can tell you that CNN is lying about the context.
Good call. Good call.
All right. So, you know what? You know what it is, Joan, is I've had a lot of sugar and I've had a lot of Space Cowboy coffee.
Uh-oh.
So it's going to be one of those Fridays. Anyway, I'll put together a segment for that for later on in the program. But is it just me or are they just flailing about now?
It is. It's in desperation. It feels so desperate right now.
And by the way, Trump is right about Liz Cheney. And he's right about a lot of those war hawks in Washington, D.C., where it's real easy to send our money and as he says, our troops into harm's way when you are sitting in a cushy office in Washington, D.C. But, what if it was your kids? What if it was your husband? So on and so forth. That's what Donald Trump is saying. So I understand why he said what he said, but the left, of course, and CNN, only focusing on the part where Trump said, let's see what happens when she has guns trained on her faces. I guess that's what he said.
But you know what? You mentioned CNN.
Yeah.
My spin on this, my concern with this is always the media, the news organizations that give the left an assist. They'll do that. They'll allow CNN and every other outlet to get away with cropping the statement so that it appears to be a standalone statement that he made about Liz Cheney having guns at her face.
Yeah, they totally edit the comment to make it look like, Trump is saying one thing when in reality he's saying something else. He's saying quite something else.
It is pure evil on the part of the media.
And then it's so funny. And then they hyperventilate about being called the enemy of the people. I'm sorry, but when you perpetually lie and divide the American people by lying about what Donald Trump says and what he meant and so forth, yeah, I'm going to call you the enemy of the American people, and that's what Donald Trump means when he says that the mainstream media and some of these outlets are the enemy of the people. Because you know what? if you're lying to me perpetually and you're trying to get me to vote one particular way by lying to me and obfuscating the truth when your job description is the facts and only the facts and just get me the truth, yeah, you are the enemy of the people. I mean, that's my 2 cents on it.
It's with intention. They do it with intention, with the intention of misleading people.
Well, and that dovetails right into this conversation that I'm having now about Trump and the illegal immigration and how Trump was saying he was going to protect women, whether they like it or not. And the media, of course, is focused on this part of it because they're trying to paint this as something about abortion when it's not. It's about illegal immigration. And when Donald Trump said whether women like it or not, he was talking about the Kamala supporters. So Harris, of course, as you can imagine, with the help of the media, what they're doing is now they're leaning into this. And this was Kamala Harris talking about Donald Trump.
Former President Donald Trump has said that he would be a protector of women, whether they like it or not. What do you make of that, and how does that contrast with your views on women and their rights and needs?
Well, I'll just speak on behalf of myself, but also the Americans that I speak with every day around our country, regardless of their gender.
By the way, I'd like to know what women Kamala Harris has spoken to. Like, is she speaking to women from the stage? Where the women maybe in the front couple of rows are trying to converse with her, or she's way over there. She's not talking to any women.
Which is the majority of Americans believe that women are intelligent enough and should have...
Not Mark Cuban.
...have and be respected for their agency to make decisions for themselves about what is in their best interest and not have their government, and certainly not Donald Trump, telling them what to do.
Oh, the sanctimonious tone of Kamala Harris. Oh, for the love of all that is holy, please let Donald Trump win this thing, because I can't take this for 4 years.
And his latest comment is just the most recent in a series of examples that we have seen from him in his words and deeds about how he devalues the ability of women to have the choice and the freedom to make decisions about their own body.
I mean, she keeps going.
I will comment on the former President Donald Trump's remark about women and whether they like it or not. And listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies. And this is just the latest on a series of reveals by the former president of how he thinks about women and their agency.
You know, and what's interesting is the truly offensive part of all of this is Donald Trump was talking about protecting women from Kamala Harris's border crisis and all of these rapists and murderers that have come across our southern border. So the truly offensive thing about all of this is that they're obfuscating and trying to divert attention away from Kamala Harris's epic failure on the southern border that has literally led to rapes and murders. And hopefully the American people see that, especially the women. It is 5:24 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 5:30.
Hey, Dan, the data shows early voting proved pretty popular this year. Also, we've got the story about the White House and damage control. Yeah, that's all coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck.
The dual power of radio and digital advertising on Super Talk 99.7 WTN has always delivered for our local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early for savings and incentives. Just reach out today to your local ad representative or go to 997wtn.com/epic.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning to you. It's now 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got some mist, some fog this morning, and 64 degrees. It's going to be a chillier day today. The forecast and your traffic coming up. With just 4 days until Election Day, Donald Trump will rally in Michigan and Wisconsin today. Kamala Harris is holding 3 events in Wisconsin. As for early voting, data shows more than 65 million Americans have already voted across the country, and women are outpacing men 54 to 44%. Meantime, at the White House, the Biden administration is working on some damage control.
Reports the White House altered the transcript of President Biden's statement this week when he appeared to call Trump supporters garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
The AP reports the White House altered the record of those remarks despite the stenographer's concerns. A White House official overnight insisting the transcript was accurate and that Biden was addressing the hateful rhetoric from the comedian at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
More than 300 people who signed up to be organ donors in Tennessee have now removed their names from the registry. It happened after a man from Kentucky reported that his organs were about to be harvested when doctors realized he was still alive. That happened in September. Organ donor advocates say that's highly unusual, and there are more than 3,000 people in need of organ transplants in Tennessee right now.
And so it's really important that we look at our ability to provide a gift of life, not only as an opportunity to save people's lives, but also to really promote our own legacies at the end of our lives.
It's Dr. Jacques-Franz Guiteau. He is a transplant doctor. He says one patient could serve as many as 75 individuals. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. After some losses on Wall Street yesterday, things are pointing up this morning. Dow futures are up 123, the NASDAQ futures gaining 84, and the S&P futures are up 20 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Speaking of Joan, Dan Mendes here, and as a guy who's getting closer and closer to retirement age, the daunting task of figuring out Medicare is always on my mind, which is why I am so glad that I've got Paul Winkler on my side. Now, he helps his clients understand Medicare and planning for retirement. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, Paul had a whole workshop on Medicare, and if you missed it, you can still see it. It's on his website, paulwinkler.com/webinars. It's right there on the front page. It was a great seminar. He had experts on to really help you understand the mistakes you can make when signing up. He talked about what Medicare covers, what it doesn't cover, and all the options you may have. So it's not too late. It's all online, paulwinkler.com/webinars. Check it out. He can save you time, money, and help you get ready for what should be the best years of your life, your retirement. Online at paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. Tell him Dan Mendes told you to reach out, 615-851-1950. 615-851-1950 for Paul Winkler.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Hey, the good news is there's really no construction set up overnight because of the rain, so that's going to make things easier getting in this morning. You do just still have that road work on the I-40 southbound loop to 210B still coned off, so you still only have the left lane available. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.538, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the gang at 3. Mason Fleming in for Johnny B. Joan Jones is here. I'm Dan. How are you? The Super Text line is open. 615-737-9986. 615-737 WWTN. I have not heard this yet, Joan.
Okay.
But it's being billed as J.D. Vance does a Kamala Harris impression.
Oh, man.
Have you heard this?
I haven't. Did he do it on the Joe Rogan show?
He sure did.
Aha, I knew it.
He sure did. This is J.D. Vance on Joe Rogan.
The only way I can describe it is she talks in circles.
Yeah.
Right? It's like...
Tim Dillon says it's like she does gypsy curses because she speaks in gypsy curses.
That's very good. But it's, we need to build an opportunity economy because if Americans don't have opportunity, then they're not going to have the opportunity to be Americans.
I mean, that's pretty much Kamala Harris. That was a good conversation. And I have not...
I haven't listened to it yet, darn it.
I have not listened to the whole thing. I've only seen the clips because, frankly, family comes first, and I had to go trick-or-treating and all that. So, but the clips are out there, and the clips are really funny. And so I'm going to play some throughout the morning because the thing that was really clear is that Joe Rogan and J.D. Vance, they got along great. And I think that tells you how easy J.D. Vance is to get along with. He relates to people. And so I think that for Joe Rogan, you've got Kamala Harris refusing to, show up on the podcast. And let's face it, that's what it is. But you had J.D. Vance and Donald Trump did show up and had the guts to show up. What does that tell you about Vance and Trump? Number one, they're unafraid. Number two, they're real people. And if I took away anything from the conversation with Vance and Rogan, it is that J.D., he's just a funny guy. There's J.D. who is out on stage and he is, talking to thousands of people, millions of people watching and so forth. But then there's one-on-one J.D., and he was really funny. And again, the clips that I'll play a little bit later on, he was really good. So I think the more you see of these clips, the more it becomes really apparent, Joan, that I don't think Kamala Harris would have been able to do this because she's almost like, I don't even know how to describe her other than like, do you know what like a metronome is, Joan? Do you know what a metronome is?
Yeah.
She's like a metronome.
Yeah. And I don't like to be critical, but she doesn't say things that aren't already scripted in front of her on a teleprompter,
Right.
or or they're not comments that have already been rehearsed over and over again that she can recall very easily, which just, in my humble opinion, calls into question, how was she an attorney speaking before a jury and able to defend somebody if she didn't have the ability to pivot and spin on a subject? And
do you know that there's some people out there now?
Yeah, I do.
I
I know what you're going to say.
Okay, so I don't know, but there are some people that are out there that are actually asking the question: did she really graduate law school?
Wasn't it Jeffrey Clark that's on this? I'm looking it up right now.
I mean, it's a number of people. I've had people call me up. And they've said, what do you think about this? I've had people, my fellow talk show hosts and so forth, not here, but they've called me up and we've had conversations, and they've asked me the question, is it a conspiracy theory to think about Kamala Harris actually did not graduate law school? Now, she had to have graduated law school. Now, how she did in law school, and did she actually, take the tests and pass and do all that kind of stuff? I don't know. Because, Joan, you are absolutely right. It is hard for me to believe that she got through law school. And maybe it wasn't a very good law school. I don't know. But it's hard to believe that she was able to be an effective attorney when she can't think on her feet. It is clear she can't think on her feet. And she's got some sort of a stage fright or something.
Right. It's not just school. And if that I think about, she touts herself, and others have touted her as being this person that has taken down transnational drug lords.
No, she hasn't. There are people that know her from back in the day, and they said she didn't take down those drug lords.
That's my question. How do you do that without being able to really think on your feet before a jury if you're trying a case?
So word is, and I mentioned that I covered this actually a couple of times, where the people on the ground say that those busts where they took down the transnational gangs or whatever, she came in for the photo op. That was actually done by local investigators and local prosecutors. And then here comes Kamala Harris, at the time the Attorney General, to get her picture taken, and then off she goes. And even at the time, you had people saying, that's bull. People are saying that she didn't have anything to do with this, yet she flies in to take credit. And they were ticked. And for me, okay, so here we are with yet another lie from Kamala Harris.
It is Jeffrey Clark, by the way.
Okay.
Who was one of the people indicted for, not believing the 2020 election was real.
Right.
He's still here. I'm not sure of it, but I think he was disbarred. I could be wrong about that. But he's on Twitter, and you can follow him. And his business is trying to get to the bottom of Kamala Harris's her entire
legal career.
Her legal career. And he uses, because he's had access to it before, he uses all the relevant search methods to be able to do it.
Joan, you're absolutely right.
He can dig in really deep. It's so interesting if you get to follow Jeffrey Clark. He's very smart.
He's very smart, and you're absolutely right about those databases.
Yeah.
There are databases where you can literally look up any case, any file, anything having to do with any legal process, and they can't find her name anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like she's been scrubbed or something, or those cases never happened. So it wouldn't surprise me if she's lying about her legal experience from the past. I mean, it's obvious that she is, because there's no real evidence that she worked with the cartels. That's number one. And number two, not only is there no legal evidence that she worked with the cartels, but the people on the ground are saying that she had nothing to do with those proceedings. So, yeah, for me, I find it kind of funny. Are you Mason or Joan? Are you guys donors? Like, if you if you died, you give your organs to science or whatever?
Yes.
Organ donors?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not,
Mason,
but
no.
I've meant to switch that for years and just haven't gotten around to it. But my license is due to renew this next year, and I plan on switching it over.
So they tell the story. You were you were talking about, Joan, how a whole
guy
bunch
in
of people
Kentucky.
have decided that they're no longer going to be organ donors because of what happened. Have you read the story of this guy?
I didn't. This is the first I was learning of it, talking about it this morning, that there's so many people that took themselves off the donors list because of this guy.
Natasha, this is from NPR. Natasha Miller says she was getting ready to do her job preserving donated organs for transplants when the nurses wheeled the donor into the operating room. She quickly realized something wasn't right. Though the donor had been declared dead, he seemed to be very much alive. He was moving around, kind of thrashing around on the bed.
Oh, gosh.
Miller told NPR in an interview. And then when we went over there, you could see that he had tears coming down. He was crying visibly.
Wow.
They're wheeling this dude in to have his organs harvested. And it's like, you know what they did? You know what they had to do? They had to call his supervisor to find out what to do. Really? You had to call his supervisor to find out what to do? You don't harvest the organs. The man is alive.
You wheel him back out again. Pretty clear.
The donor's condition alarmed everyone in the operating room at Baptist Health Hospital in Richmond, Kentucky, including the two doctors who refused to participate in the organ retrieval. She says the procuring surgeon, he was like, I'm out of it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It was very chaotic. Everyone was just very upset. I wouldn't be upset. I would be like, dude's alive, and let's wheel him back out. And the guy is now alive and kicking and walking around. But it's like they wheeled him into that room to have his organs procured or harvested, whatever you want to say. And he was clearly, obviously alive. Like nobody noticed. Like the guy's wheeling the gurney. And they're wheeling him into the room where they do this thing and they don't notice that he's alive? I mean, I don't know. It's just, whole thing is just crazy.
Yeah, it's really weird. And the more I heard the story from Joan talking about it this morning, it made me think, this sounds really familiar. I hadn't heard the actual story before. But a show on, oh goodness, where are they at? NBC called Chicago Med just did an episode within the last year of a similar situation happening where they pronounced somebody dead because his heart rate was too low. And so they were trying to send him in to get his organs processed and harvested and whatnot. And you just look over as two doctors are talking and he sits up in the bed in the body bag before they move him, and they have to rip open the body bag and get him in a gown and whatnot to take care of him. And they had to go through the whole process of figuring it out. And I was like, that's really weird that episode came out just recently compared to this happening in real life.
Well, here's what's especially scary about this. And this is probably why a lot of people are saying, nope, we're going to reverse our desires to be an organ donor. Miller says she overheard the case coordinator at the hospital for her employer, Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates, calling her supervisor for advice. So the coordinator, she says, calls the supervisor at the time. And she was saying that he was telling her that she needed to find another doctor to do it. That we were going to do this case. She needs to find someone else, Miller says. And she's like, there is no one else. And she's crying, the coordinator, because she's getting yelled at because this guy from Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates is saying, I don't care if the guy's alive. Take his organs.
Did they think that he was not alive, but just having like after-death spasms? I don't know that if that is a thing. If he's
actually crying, and I don't know if after-death spasms are a thing.
Neither do I.
But if he's actually crying,
yeah,
then you know that he's alive. The organ retrieval clearly was canceled, but some workers say they later quit over the October 2021 incident, including another organ preservationist, Nicolita Martin. She said, I've dedicated my entire life to organ donation and transplant. It's very scary to me now that these things are allowed to happen and there's not more in place to protect donors. I mean, I'm with you, Mason. I've always thought about being an organ donor.
Oh, you're not?
No.
What?
No. Do you know why I'm not?
Because of stories like this?
He's possessive. He likes to hold on to his own stuff.
I don't like to share. Even you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to have to. I can't believe I'm doing this on the air. I've got to double check that because I might be.
It's right on your license.
Well, Amy is very influential in my life.
I was like, did she change it on you? Not just sign here.
Yeah.
You know how it
what?
is?
I am an organ donor.
Okay.
A little heart on
Yes,
your.
the heart.
Yeah.
I'm an organ donor, and I didn't
right
even,
under your birthday.
How silly am I that I'm an organ donor and I didn't even know it?
Know it.
I know it now, and I'm gonna rethink that. Like I really am, because that's a scary, scary thing. And the thing is, I think it was a last minute decision when I went in, and Amy's like, "Yeah, just do it." So I just did it. Whatever. I'm dead.
Listen,
who cares? But apparently not.
If you're dead, and if you're injured, and you're about to be wheeled in, don't you think Amy would be there to say, no, he's not dead yet? Like, this guy, it doesn't sound like he had anybody being his advocate. And I think most of us are loved enough that we would have an advocate.
Well, the thing with these kinds of things is that if an organ donor, people will tell me if I'm wrong, and it perhaps could be, but time is always of the essence,
oh,
right?
yes.
So
absolutely.
If somebody dies, you got to harvest pretty quickly because there's always somebody that needs a heart. There's always somebody that needs a kidney. And I understand that. And I'm not advocating for people either way you make your own decision like always. But this story, I understand why people are like, are you kidding me? Especially when you find out that they still wanted to harvest this dude's organs, even though he was clearly alive.
Yeah, he's like, I got Pilates at 2. I can't stick around here and donate my heart right now.
Can you imagine that?
My daughter's a recipient, so I'm a huge fan.
Oh, is she really?
She had to have her knees reconstructed, and they call it it's like a paste. They take the bone and they make a paste, and it acts like a spackle.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
For some people.
Really?
Yeah. So she was given, after her surgeries, she was given a certificate with the person's name.
Yep.
And and you can pray for that person and be thankful for.
All right. So you know what? I'm
donation.
gonna ask Super Texters as we wrap this up. Does this story make you want to not be an organ donor? Does it give you second thoughts or pause on being an organ donor? Because for me, absolutely. And I remember when I was talking about this many, many, many years ago. I was doing a talk show, and I said at the time, because I apparently only recently have become an organ donor, and just realized, and I was like, I don't know if I would want to do that, because how do you know that they're not so desperate for an organ that they don't work hard to save you because, they've got a 10-year-old that needs your heart or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a sticky.
What's the creed? The creed is first do no harm.
Yeah.
So
yes.
And I was going to say the one last persuasive thing that I heard to persuade me to become an organ donor next time I renew my license is there was a man whose daughter was in a car accident. She died, and there was a girl that needed a heart transplant, and so his daughter's heart got put into the little girl, and they were able to meet in person for the first time, and he was able to hear his daughter's heartbeat in someone else's
You're
chest.
gonna make me cry.
And I was like,
oh my
holy cow!
goodness.
You know what? Stuff
And
like that.
Mason brings up a good point. And some people are saying crap happens. So
yeah,
apparently crap happens. Okay,
that's not a good enough reason.
Whatever. All right. Hey, Joan, what's coming up?
Male voters, listen up. You are falling behind. Also, we've got a story that may have you hunting around in your backyard. We'll explain those stories coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Populations of animals. I mean, think about the white-tailed deer and how when Ed started, and maybe even before Ed a little bit, they started, working to bring these populations back. And now we have these sustainable populations that we can hunt.
Yeah.
The story of the eastern wild turkey and what's happening with turkeys. So I would consider all these things great successes. The conservation efforts that have been worked on by the personnel for years, I would think that it's a great success story for our state.
You're going to see some footage from an old film that was produced here at the agency in the Game and Fish days, and which shows some things like, the wife taking care of the animal that the officer, the husband, had to bring home to take care of, because they got a call, and times have changed. Now we have the rehabilitators that help out with that kind of thing. And
thank goodness. We got to be really good friends with some of those little animals. And got my first commission in 1972.
Okay. Yeah.
At that time, it was a little different. The whole law enforcement world was different then. So anyway, I got my first commission in 1972 and worked all over the state. It was really great to be able to do that. Pretty much you had one uniform. I noticed in the movie too, everybody wearing ties. For years and years, you had to, if you wore a long sleeve shirt, you had to wear a tie. It didn't matter if you were doing enforcement or sailing a pond or whatever you were doing, you had that tie on.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then everybody looked forward. There was one date and it kind of moved. It was generally around April the 1st. You switched from long sleeves to short sleeves and you didn't have to wear a tie. And everybody's going, come on, April 1st.
Well, Well, good morning. It's now 6:01, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 59 degrees, overcast skies now. Things will clear out a bit, and we'll go up to around 70, a much nicer day today. We've got the forecast for you coming up, as well as traffic in just 5 minutes. Well, just days to go until Election Day. And as we learn more about the makeup of early voters, there is a warning bell for male voters.
More than 62 million Americans have already voted. In Pennsylvania, some potentially encouraging news for Harris. 58% of votes cast by seniors in that state so far have been cast by Democrats, compared to 35% by Republicans. And people over the age of 65 account for nearly half the early ballots in that state. Across the country, data shows women outpacing men in early voting, 54 to 44%. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk posting this: early vote has been disproportionately female. If men stay at home, Kamala is president. It's that simple.
ABC's Perry Russum there. A Wilson County woman is under arrest for voter fraud. 33-year-old Erica Waterbury indicted in July, charged just last month, but the details of those charges not clear right now. Hans Vance with the Heritage Foundation looks at voter fraud cases and election integrity across the country. He spoke to Channel 4.
Let's say I actually live in Chattanooga, but I claim that I am a resident of Nashville and I register there. Even though I'm a resident of Tennessee, I'm claiming residence someplace where I don't actually live. That would be an illegal registration.
Waterbury is due in court later this month. Halloween's just in our rearview mirror now, but Nashville's Metro's Parks Department already looking for its Christmas tree. Now, this has to be a Norway spruce. It has to be 30 to 40 feet tall. It has to be looking good from every angle. If you think you have a tree on your property that fits the bill, the Parks Department has a phone number to call. I'll give it to you here. They'll come out, remove that tree, and plant a new one in its place. Here's that number to call, 615-862-8400. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The Commerce Department says year-over-year consumer prices rose just 2.1% in September, very close to the 2% target set by the Federal Reserve. The Fed meets next week and is expected to further reduce a key interest rate. Investors were not impressed with the numbers. The Nasdaq and S&P recording their worst session since early September. The Dow yesterday fell back another 378 points and closed at 41,763. The S&P dropped 1.8%, the Nasdaq 2.75%.
And stock futures this morning are pointing up. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. There are some drop-off delays at the airport this morning, and in Cool Springs, a crash. I-65 southbound lanes at Moores Lane, exit 69. This one is blocking off the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.608 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Welcome on into a Friday, November 1st. By the way, we were talking about organ donation and that thing that happened in Kentucky during the Gang of Three. And the question that I asked the super texters, does this impact your decision on whether you become an organ donor? Because they wheeled the guy into the procurement area, and it turned out he was alive, and a representative from this organ company said, we got to find another doctor to do it because the two doctors on the scene refused because the dude was clearly alive. Now, I don't know if there's other, more to the story or not. It sounds like such an unbelievable story. I did hear from a nurse, and I heard from a doctor as well, and both say there's got to, because I read 2 or 3 different stories on this, and they all say there's got to be more to this story. There's got to be more to this story because there are safeguards in place. So I don't know if there's more to the story. I read a couple of different articles on this, but for me, you just decide on whether or not you want to be an organ donor or not. The thing that I will tell you, though, and this is true, and then I'm going to get on to some other things, but organ donation has saved a lot of lives. So there is that aspect of it as well. It is sad that this situation that happened in Kentucky has forced people to maybe take a second look at whether or not they want to be an organ donor. And I understand that because this is everyone's worst nightmare is you're an organ donor and then they, want to harvest your organs more than they want to, keep you alive. And so this is just, it's one of those conversations, but medical people are now saying that, reaching out to me and saying there's got to be more to the story. I'm going to tell you there is an investigation going on, and, I am an organ donor. I'm going to take a good hard look on if I want to continue being an organ donor. For me, organ donation does do a lot of good. And I know that if I opened up the phone lines right now, and I don't want to, I've got a lot of stuff to do. But if I opened up the phone lines right now, I would hear from as many people as I could jam on the phone telling me incredible stories of how their lives were saved, their children's lives were saved by the beauty and the grace of organ donation. So it's a tough call. It is a very tough call. And maybe, next week after all of this political nonsense is over, we can have sort of a deeper conversation about it. But I must correct Kamala Harris's and the media's lies. Now, we were talking earlier in the broadcast. This is actually hard to keep up with. Because yesterday we were talking about how they're taking Donald Trump's words about how he wants to protect women, whether they like it or not. And the media is making that into some sort of a sexist remark about how Donald Trump doesn't care about women and their concerns about their right to choose, when he was clearly talking about protecting women from illegal immigration. So that is one lie that I am trying to, and all of us are trying to correct. Now there's another one. I woke up this morning and it turns out Donald Trump last night said something about Liz Cheney. Here's what he said, and the media is making this, and CNN, man, they are hyperventilating on all of this morning. And this is what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney. The headline on CNN was that Donald Trump continues his, and I'm going to quote, violent rhetoric against his political enemies. This is what Donald Trump said.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter.
Dick Cheney.
But his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Let me ask you a question, though. How is that violent rhetoric? Clearly, what Donald Trump is talking about is that she is willing to, and many of these other, war hawks, they're willing to send countless of billions of dollars to Ukraine. And he's also talking about war hawks, generally speaking, where people like Liz Cheney are willing to send our parents or our kids into the field of battle from, really cushy buildings in Washington, D.C. That's all he's saying. And I understand we have an all-volunteer army or military and so forth. I get all of that. There's all kinds of different ways to talk about this. I'm talking about this as CNN and the left clearly trying to make this about Donald Trump threatening and this violent rhetoric against Liz Cheney when it's clearly obvious what he is saying. It's easy to be a war hawk if you're a politician in Washington, D.C., and you don't have to face any personal consequences of your decisions. That's all he's saying. And clearly, part of what the media is doing is, in the news today, there are so many stories about the Democrats and what is going on with Kamala Harris and how she is clearly losing in many of the battleground states. That's number one. But number two, to me, one of the biggest news stories of the day is the White House editing the official transcript when Joe Biden said that Donald Trump supporters were garbage. And the story behind that is absolutely incredible. So what the media is trying to do is they're trying to take this violent rhetoric against Liz Cheney, and they're trying to use that story to bury the story and the scandal and the controversy regarding Joe Biden's White House editing the official transcript when Joe Biden said that Donald Trump supporters are garbage. And they may have actually broken the law. And now Republicans are demanding an investigation. I've got that story for you and a whole lot more straight ahead. 615-737-9986 is the super text line. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, so that's obviously an old traffic report. I don't know if Joan's back there, but that is from last night. I don't know what is going on with our computers, but when Joan gets back in, she's not in the newsroom, but we'll get an updated traffic for you. Sorry about that, folks. 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So the question is, did the White House edit the official transcript? We know that they did. This was yesterday, Karine Jean-Pierre. Actually, I think this was day before yesterday, Karine Jean-Pierre.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
No, that was Joe Biden and what he had to say. Karine Jean-Pierre says, no. That's not what Joe Biden meant. Joe Biden was talking about one person, the guy that made the joke. He wasn't talking about all Donald Trump supporters. And she says, no, that's not what happened.
And I quote, I refer to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage.
Right. Well, here's what's all in the news today. The White House altered the official transcript of a call President Biden did with Latino supporters where he appeared to call Donald Trump supporters garbage. He did, actually, Daily Mail. This is from the Daily Mail. According to reports by the Associated Press, according to the official transcript prepared by White House stenographers, Joe Biden said on the Tuesday call, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. his demonization of Latinos is unconscionable and it is un-American. However, they say the transcript released by the White House press office altered the word supporters. It said supporters as in singular, meaning one person, meaning the comedian, rather than a plural, supporters, meaning all of Donald Trump's supporters. The change, according to aides, corrects Biden's statement to imply that he was criticizing the comedian Hinchcliffe alone, not the millions of Americans voting for Donald Trump, the Associated Press reported. So they're playing these games, the White House is, with literally apostrophes. And here's the deal. We can all tell what's going on.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Nope. He clearly says, and we can hear it, even CNN and Caitlin Collins and some other people out there that are on the left have said it is obvious what Joe Biden said. They say the change to the transcript was made after the press office conferred with the president, according to an internal email from the head of the stenographer's office there inside the White House in Washington, D.C. The email was confirmed to be real by two anonymous government officials. The supervisor from the stenographer's office wrote in the email that the press office breached proper protocol and ruined transcript integrity. I mean, like, if you're the stenographers, right? I mean, this is your deal. Your deal is your transcript is going to be exactly what the president said. And so you, if you're the stenographer, you know what Biden said. Everybody knows what Biden said. Then the White House comes along and Biden's aides, and they want to change your transcript to save the president's behind and destroying transcript integrity, which, again, I'm sure is a big deal for stenographers. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to the American people. They say if there is a difference in interpretation, the press office may choose to withhold the transcript, but cannot edit it independently. The supervisor wrote, our stenography office, the transcript released to our distro, I think that means their distribution list, which includes the National Archives, is now different than the version edited and released to the public by the press office staff. So, yeah, I get what they mean about transcript integrity. This is a big problem. Because what the Democrats did is they went in and they're, again, I know this is a shock, just like with Liz Cheney and that whole conversation with Donald Trump, where they're lying to the American people. They're obfuscating the truth. They say, per the email, the press office had asked the stenographers to quickly write up a transcript amid the controversy. According to the Associated Press, the supervisor was not available right then to review the audio and verify the transcript, so the press office published the altered transcript on the White House's website anyway in an effort to help the president. So is this the swamp once again trying to help the Democrats? Sounds that way to me, but there's people within the transcript office, within the stenographer's world in Washington, D.C., that have a problem with this because the transcript integrity is now gone. White House Senior Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates posted the altered transcript to X that night, writing that Biden referred to the hateful rhetoric at the Madison Square Garden rally as garbage and not Trump's supporters. In other words, again, Andrew Bates and the White House aides to President Biden, they go to the stenographers. They say that they want to change the official transcript so that then what they can do is post the changed transcript onto X and onto social media to try to save Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from ridicule. And the problem with that is, of course, everybody knows what they heard. People know that a transcript can be altered like it was.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And now you've got Republicans, and they should be, they are actually calling for an investigation. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. Bottom line is, this is something that Joe Biden did. Will it have an impact on Kamala Harris? Well, that remains to be seen. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news?
Dan, yesterday was the last day of early voting in Tennessee, but in one county, it was also the most popular day to get out and vote. And how they're preparing for Election Day in D.C. You may be surprised. Those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here, and my company for foundation repair and concrete leveling and waterproofing is USS United Structural Systems. Now, they fixed my foundation. They can help your foundation as well. They're awesome, easy to work with, and above all, competent and reasonable. Now, if you notice doors and windows sticking, uneven floors, maybe gaps between the trim and the ceiling, these are all signs that you might have a possible foundation issue. And nobody does it better than USS. They've been serving Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they've helped thousands of satisfied homeowners with great work and communication. They're going to give you a free inspection and detailed estimate before you make a decision. Communication is always key to making sure that everybody is on the same page, and you don't pay a dime until the work is done and you're a satisfied customer. That's one of many reasons why I love USS. United Structural Systems for all your foundation, concrete leveling, and waterproofing needs. 615-488-7855. 488-7855. You can always find them online, USSTN.com.
Got an accident on 65 southbound lanes past Trinity Lane, exit 87. 2 right lanes are blocked. Also, a crash involving injuries. This one's in Madison, Old Hickory Boulevard at Madison Station Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.629 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, you'll love this. Just very quickly. BC says on the Super Text line is 615-737-9986. We also need to cut the Super Talk TV feed a couple of seconds earlier, or Dan needs to stay in his chair a couple of seconds longer.
You get up and run, don't you?
Because we don't want to see Dan run to the bathroom every other commercial break. LOL. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Listen, man, there are times when it is just, look, I drink a lot of Space Cowboy coffee. I drink a lot of Slippery Elm. And sometimes, a man of a certain age just has to get to the bathroom as quickly as possible.
TMI. Total TMI.
I'm sorry, Joan. Mother Nature happens. It's just one of those things.
Do we tell you when Mother Nature happens to us?
Well, who's us?
Me, Mason, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny and I talk about it all the time.
Oh, that's a problem. It's a problem.
Maybe that's why Johnny's not so excited to come back on Monday. Anyway, moving right along. 6:30 on WTN. Dan Mandis here for Window Nation, my window company. Now, I love these folks. They put new windows in my basement studio, my bedroom, and my kitchen. And right now, prime window buying time. The weather is about to turn cold, so if your windows are going to allow the warm air out and the cold air in this winter, you need to act right now. And Window Nation can help you, looking out for you with a great special going on. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. That is a great deal. Window Nation has over 33,000 5-star reviews on Google and a big 5-star review from my house. Now, your new windows can be installed in a day or less, and they come with a lifetime warranty. Now, don't forget that great deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Well, good morning. It's now 6:31, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. We've got your forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Early voting ended yesterday in Tennessee. Totals from the Davidson County Election Commission show more than 209,000 cast their ballots early this year. Yesterday alone, almost 21,000 people showed up to vote across Davidson County, making it the most popular day to vote early. If you didn't vote early, your last shot will be on Tuesday, right on Election Day. In Washington, D.C., downtown businesses are closing their doors this weekend. They're boarding up the windows ahead of the election. The U.S. Postal Service is among the buildings that are preparing for rioting in the streets of D.C., which was heavily damaged during the George Floyd riots and after the inauguration of President Trump in early 2017. Tennessee Highway Patrol has 8 new dispatchers graduating after completing 7 weeks of intense training. Colonel Matt Perry talking to Channel 4 about how important those dispatchers are.
You see troopers at flooding and natural disasters and events like you've seen, but what you don't see is dispatchers are there right along with us. They're just in a building. They're a little more out of sight, out of mind, but they don't get to go home when their shift's in, just like a trooper. It's a calling. It's not for everyone.
Highway Patrol saying they're still hiring even more dispatchers. The markets are looking up today after yesterday's sell-off. The Dow futures are ahead of 165. We've got the NASDAQ up 92. S&P futures are up 23 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Hey, everybody. Dan Mandis here. And man, are we looking forward to Wicked in my house. It does come out later this month, but you're probably wondering how much streaming and memeing your internet can handle at your kid's next Wicked-themed sleepover. Now, Xfinity has internet powerful enough to handle hundreds of devices, so you can get a magical connection with fast speeds and amazifying power, even when everyone is online at the sleepover, with Wi-Fi that is truly thrillifying. One might even say that Xfinity's engineers are secretly wizards themselves. Now, through December 22nd, get thrillifyingly fast 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $35 a month for 12 months, with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com to learn more and keep the magic going from your screen to the big screen, and see Wicked only in theaters on November 22nd. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Currently $66 a month. Actual speeds vary.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, everybody. Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 W.
Talbot's Corner, 65 southbound lanes, just past Trinity Lane, exit 87. It's a crash, and it's involving a couple of cars here. We've got two right lanes blocked off by it. Also, a crash involving injuries in Madison. That one's on Old Hickory Boulevard at Madison Station Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, everybody. Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck. 637 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to welcome into the program our grassroots political analyst, Matthew Hurt. Matthew, how are you today? Man, there's a lot going on. I think if there's really one theme to today, Matthew, it is obfuscation. We've got the Biden administration trying to, this is big news, the Biden administration changing the transcript of Biden's garbage comment in that whole Zoom call. They changed the transcript to make it look like he did not say what he said about Donald Trump supporters. You've got them going after Donald Trump, saying that he has violent rhetoric against Liz Cheney. I was talking about that earlier. Is not the case. We'll go over that. And just, obviously there's a lot going on. And none of it has to do with the actual issues of this campaign.
Well, this is Nixon-level obfuscation, the famous turning off the recorder in the White House. But this has already permeated the culture. Last night in Washington, D.C.
What? Where? Mason. So you got to. Mason's recording traffic reports. Where'd Matt go? Where'd Matthew Hurt go? Did you?
I'm back. We've got the right traffic report. It sounds, the horse and buggies on Lower Broadway in 1919. But no, this is Nixon level obfuscation. But last night in Washington D.C., there were hundreds of Halloween parties, and I can tell you, hundreds, if not thousands, of people were dressed in trash bags and MAGA hats. This has permeated the culture in the last week of the campaign. It doesn't matter what Karine Jean-Pierre says or what the White House does to the transcript in the culture. Now, there could be some legal implications there, but the American people know what Joe Biden said. This is the basket of deplorables moment. This is just another step toward understanding what the left thinks about Donald Trump supporters. And I'll tell you, Dan, for the first time since 2016, I ran into the closet the other night and grabbed my Make America Great Again hat, which I haven't busted out of storage since the week after the 2016 convention. And the vibe is good for Republicans and for Donald Trump, regardless of what Joe Biden calls his supporters, regardless of what Kamala Harris says on the campaign trail. This is truly the campaign of joy and excitement in the last 4 days of the election.
So, and I would agree with you, but I am seeing in Wisconsin and also in Pennsylvania, Harris is beginning to see, some movement upwards. Trump is still winning in Pennsylvania, but in some of the other states, Harris is seeing a reversal of her misfortune from the last couple of weeks. And so one of the questions I would have, and specifically in Wisconsin, but that's just hard for me to believe. Like, are these polls at this point, with the disaster after disaster that Kamala Harris has seen, that, she would start to see a reversal of what we have seen in the last couple of weeks?
We will see just a little bit of movement, and it looks like in Wisconsin we're seeing that. And here is what I would caution to Trump supporters, and in particular the Trump campaign. We saw a little bit of a too early celebration moment yesterday and over the last couple of days on social media from some Trump campaign staff. Trump supporters have to put the pedal to the metal and keep moving forward because, again, we've got 4 more days. After this interview, I'm driving an older woman to the polls. We've got another situation down in Woodbridge where I'm moving a voter to the polls. We've got to do the hard work to make sure that every single voter turns out. And those crosstabs, those 1 out of 4 voters, those 0 out of 4 voters are still overwhelmingly supporting Republican candidates. And those are numbers that will not be reflected in the polls.
Yep.
These are individuals who do not get calls because they are not on the radar as people who vote in these elections. And so it is up to supporters of Donald Trump and our Republican candidates to do everything they can in the last 4 days.
I want to just to tell you how insane things are at CNN. I just saw a headline. Let me pull up the audio. But I just saw a headline. Apparently now, Liz Cheney has responded to Donald Trump's comment that Liz Cheney should be fired upon. Now, that is not even close to what Donald Trump said. Basically what he said, and I'm pulling up the audio here real quick. It was kind of a last-minute story for yours truly. What Donald Trump basically said was, no, she is a war hawk, and if she was in, war, she would have a different opinion as to the stance on war. Because if you've got a bunch of guns pointed at your face, then you're going to have a different opinion. And he talks about, the war hawks out there that are what's the best way to put this? That from the convenience and the comfort of their offices, send our men and women to war. And I'm of course trying to find, it's been a rough day here. Here's the comment from Donald Trump, just so you can see the difference.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Yeah, so, that's Donald Trump clearly not saying that Liz Cheney should be fired upon.
As a libertarian, I am so excited that non-interventionism and foreign adventurism are, we're having these conversations. The decision makers who put our men and women in jeopardy in places where we don't have a national interest, or we don't have something pressing in the foreign policy space. It is, they're all based in McLean. They're about 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. People like Liz Cheney, people like Dick Cheney. And for the better part of 20 years, Democrats called Dick Cheney a war criminal. They attacked those who got us into Iraq and Afghanistan, and now to embrace them so strongly in this campaign is actually quite shocking. But it shows a shift. It shows a shift of an American public that is tired of foreign policy adventurism that doesn't directly impact or affect America's interests. And I think this is a good conversation to have. In the 4 years of the last Donald Trump administration, he got us into no new wars. These are troublesome times, and I think it takes a clear-headed leader who isn't quick to send men and women into combat, and who isn't quick to engage in this capacity, and instead engage in diplomacy. And we saw President Trump, in 4 years of his first administration, go in and, in his New York style, sort of strong-arm many of these leaders into not moving into a place where we've got men and women in uniform on the front lines, and that's encouraging. It's quite discouraging to see the Democrats embrace this war hawk wing of the Republican Party so strongly.
It is bizarre. 645 on Super Talk 99.7, and Matthew Hurt is joining us. There is a new poll out that shows the moment Kamala may have fatally changed the course of this election. I've got that audio coming up next. Time to check the roads on WTN. .646 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And as far as your weather today, looks like it's going to be a high of around 67 and partly cloudy. Saturday, mostly sunny, high of around 78. And on Sunday, some clouds and pretty much 68 degrees will be your high again on Sunday. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on WTN. A new poll shows the moment Kamala may have fatally changed the course of this election. It was this moment on The View.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Well, if anything.
Yeah, they looked at the numbers, and they're looking at the fact that that was the moment where a lot of people looked at this candidate knowing what the last 3.5 years have been like, and for her to say, I can't think of anything, that may have been a game changer.
Absolutely. And this is something where on the economy, on foreign policy, on respect on the world stage, the American people have seen a stark contrast. And for her to say, I'm going to be just like the last guy or just like the current guy, this means, what the Trump campaign messaging is, that the Biden-Harris agenda would continue under Kamala Harris as president. This is resonating. It is the right message to draw a contrast. We talk about candidates who want to introduce themselves. Of course, everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Yep. And then candidates who want to articulate the issues. And then in the final stage of the campaign, the candidates draw a contrast with one another. And the contrast could not be clearer. Electing Kamala Harris on Tuesday would be a continuation of the failed policies of the Biden administration.
So there's a crazy debate out there, Matthew, about whether or not Joe Biden actually wants Kamala Harris to win. And it's interesting because I was talking earlier about how Kamala Harris has surrounded herself with all of these different surrogates. And you've got Barack Obama basically telling young black men that you are sexist and misogynist if you don't vote for Kamala Harris. You've also got Mark Cuban. He said this the other day.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
And that as well, clearly a blunder, because Donald Trump has surrounded himself with strong women, including Kellyanne Conway and Tulsi Gabbard and others. And now social media is just on fire with strong women, intelligent women who are answering Mark Cuban. I've got some of that audio coming up in the next hour. But from Joe Biden to Barack Obama to now Mark Cuban, I mean, I'm no fan of Kamala Harris, but she must be thinking, what the hell are these guys doing?
The Harris campaign and their surrogates and their supporters are grasping at straws. You and I have talked on and on about the various demographics, the kinds of voters who go to the polls and vote for these candidates. We know that Kamala Harris is struggling with male voters, particularly young men, but it appears as though this is their last line of attack beyond the fascism, beyond comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. We're going to try to make this one more wedge against female voters, because we know that suburban women, primarily white women, voted for Donald Trump in 2016. They helped elect Donald Trump. And this is just another instance of the Harris campaign attempting to divide a demographic, a segment of the of the electorate, to try to drive the point home. And it's unclear whether this will land. It doesn't sound like it will. We're seeing in Arlington, where I live, a lot of women voters who ignore the Democrat sample ballot and go in and vote for Donald Trump and our Republican candidates. And I just think this is another element of a flailing campaign in the last days trying to divide the American people even further.
All right, Matthew Hurt, always great commentary. How can folks find you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MatthewHurtt.
So, Matthew, I know that we do maybe once or twice a week. I do want to have you on both Monday and Tuesday, if at all possible, because, it's game time. And, sometimes we see headlines where it's like, oh, no, Kamala's going up and Trump's going down. At this point, I think it just comes down to November 5th. And I think that there's people out there that are saying, oh, the early voting is favoring Kamala Harris. I don't necessarily believe that.
No sleep till November 6th for me. I've got a stack of emergency at my desk, and I'm ready to go, Dan.
All right, very good. Always great to have you on, Matthew Hurt. Appreciate it. It is 6:52 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan, how you doing in the newsroom? It's been a great day so far, hasn't it?
It's been fantastic.
Fantastic day.
Hey, it's Friday. Whatever.
Guy told me I need to breathe. People are watching me on Super Talk TV. Clearly, I'm annoyed today over some technical stuff. I got to just breathe. Joan, that's what I got to do.
Breathe.
Guy
deep.
says, no
gathering gloom.
No more Space Cowboy coffee for you, is what he says.
Yes.
Sorry.
Good suggestion.
Sorry, that's not how I roll. More Space Cowboy coffee for me, the better. Anyway, Joan, what's coming up?
Well, I'll tell you about a Halloween celebration in Orlando that turned into a mass shooting overnight. Also, T-Dot says, hey, sorry about that. after one of its message boards broadcast a vulgar message. Those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wait, who broadcast a...
T-Dot.
T-Dot broadcast a vulgar message?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
Oh, this is fun.
Okay, very good. Joan Jones coming up 6:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, we don't have to wait until November 5th to start taking our country back. We can get in the fight right now with Coin, the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions to the left like other cards, Coin advances conservative values and charities. Earn cash back while fighting back. Apply now at coin.com. That's COIGN, coin.com. Terms apply. Spelling is important. COIGN, coin.com/disclosures. For full details, Coin is your conservative values credit card.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Populations of animals. I mean, think about the white-tailed deer and how when Ed started, and maybe even before Ed a little bit, they started, working to bring these populations back. And now we have these sustainable populations that we can hunt.
Yeah.
The story of the eastern wild turkey and what's happening with turkeys. So I would consider all these things great successes. The conservation efforts that have been worked on by the personnel for years. I would think that it's a great success story for our state.
You're going to see some footage from an old film that was produced here at the agency in the Game and Fish days, and which shows some things like, the wife taking care of the animal that the officer, the husband, had to bring home to take care of, because they got a call, and times have changed. Now we have the rehabilitators that help out with that kind of thing. And
thank goodness. We got to be really good friends with some of those little animals. And my first commission in 1972.
Okay, yeah.
At that time, it was a little different. The whole law enforcement world was different then. So anyway, we got the first commission in 1972 and worked all over the state. It was really great to be able to do that. Pretty much, you had one uniform. And I noticed in the movie too, everybody wearing ties. For years and years, you had to. If you wore a long sleeve shirt, you had to wear a tie. It didn't matter if you were doing enforcement or sailing a pond or whatever you were doing. You had that tie on.
Oh wow!
And then everybody looked forward. There was one date, and it kind of moved. It was generally around April the 1st. You switched from long sleeves to short sleeves, and you didn't have to wear a tie. And everybody's going, "Come on, April 1st."
Well, hey there, we're at 7 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 57 degrees, a little overcast right now, and the clouds will be on the decrease today. The temps right around 70. Sounds so nice. We've got traffic just ahead, too. We'll begin here with the devastating story out of Orlando, where a celebration in the downtown area turned deadly overnight.
Surveillance video captures a wave of people running from the sound of gunfire just after 1 in the morning. It also shows police officers moving in to find and apprehend the shooter.
Most of them, got a little bit of cover between them. They started scanning, seeing what was going on, and then they moved.
Orlando Police Chief Eric Smith says a 17-year-old is in custody and facing charges in the shooting that left 2 people dead and 6 more wounded. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
In New York today, it's the start of the manslaughter trial for Daniel Penny. He's that Marine veteran who put a man who had been threatening others on a subway train into a chokehold.
Prosecutors say Neely was no longer a threat after 3 minutes. He stopped moving after 5. Neely had a history of mental illness. Police say he was acting erratically and making threats on the train, but was unarmed and never physically violent. Prosecutors concede Neely may have seemed scary, but they're out to convince the jury Penny held him down too long. The defense says Neely was insanely threatening, and Penny took action to protect the lives of others. The case sparked protests about racial dynamics, subway safety, and mental health.
That's ABC's Aaron Katursky. Metro Nashville police are now investigating the shooting at an Edge Hill apartment complex early yesterday morning as a case of self-defense. 2 men were taken to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Both had non-life-threatening injuries. 2 women arrested for stealing clothing at several stores. They were arrested at the Ross Dress for Less on West Main in Lebanon after somebody called police about shoplifters yesterday. Now, those women were found to have a tool for removing security tags. They've been charged with stealing from several other stores in the Hermitage and Mount Juliet areas as well. And the Tennessee Department of Transportation has some splaining to do. One of the road signs that was mounted on the back of a truck on Interstate 65 North between Spring Hill and Franklin displayed a vulgar message. It read, in part, "Slow, worker ahead, y'all," and then it was the word after that. That's where the vulgar part comes in. TDOT says it's holding the contractor accountable, but it isn't saying exactly what it will do to hold that person accountable.
Wait, what's the word?
I don't know. It was blurred out in all the pictures.
So wait a minute. Read it again. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Okay. Slow, worker ahead, y'all. Now, it could have said y'all slow down, but it didn't say that.
No, if it was vulgar, I'm just thinking, sometimes if it said y'all blurred off, you know what that blurred word is.
Yeah.
It's the F-bomb, right? So
Could be. It could be something like, y'all stink, but the other word for that. I put it up on my Twitter.
You know what?
So that you can read it, you can look at it and kind of get the feel of
2666 says, Joan, really? LOL.
I'm trying.
That was a great news tease that you had, and now you're just, I feel a little,
You feel
let
cheated?
down. I feel a little let down.
Come on. I don't want to say the word. I don't think you should say the word.
I don't know what the word is.
Well, none of us do.
That's what I'm saying. If I knew what the word was, I could sort of like dance around it, but tell people what the word is.
Well, we're guessing.
Oh, you know what?
What?
This is why I love the super text line.
Mm-hmm. What are they saying?
2646, it was the F-bomb.
It was the F-bomb?
5476 says y'all B-word, right?
Okay.
8207 says it was y'all A-holes. I can say A-holes.
See,
you know
that
what I
could
mean?
be
So
it.
in other words,
that
it
would
was,
make sense.
Yeah, it was calling people either the A word or the F word or something like that.
Yeah. My super text line is not working. So
It's probably for the best today, to be honest with you. Your super text line, you really are...
Nothing's... we're having issues, and so
Don't
it's
even
not
get me
working.
started, because people are going to tell me to breathe again.
Yeah.
I'm breathing. All is well and all is fine.
Okay.
Happy.
Yeah. It's
Are we
Friday.
done?
What could be bad? Yeah, we're done.
All right, very good. So I guess we'll play the next whatever.
Oh, see, I didn't...
There you go.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Couple of trouble spots this morning. We've got Talbot's Corner, 65 northbound lanes, the off-ramp to southbound I-65 north. The loop there, it's exit 86. That's so confusing. Crash there, the off-ramp right lane has been blocked off. Murfreesboro Pike, Donaldson Pike, you've got a crash involving injuries. In Madison, a crash at Old Hickory Boulevard and Madison Station Boulevard as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.708, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in for a Friday, along with Joan Jones, Mason Fleming. Johnny is doing okay. We'll let Johnny talk about what's going on with Johnny on Monday when he returns, but looking forward to Johnny returning on Monday, hopefully, and hope you have a great weekend. Right now, 7:09 on Nashville's Morning News. Coming up at 7:35, you're not going to want to miss this. Some of the more relevant and hysterical audio between Joe Rogan and J.D. Vance. I got to tell you, and y'all know that I'm a big J.D. Vance fan. And one of the big reasons why I want Donald Trump to win is because of the policies, obviously, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been an absolute train wreck, but also because that will open up the door for J.D. Vance. And maybe 8 years of J.D. Vance after Donald Trump wraps up his 4 years in office. Hopefully, I'm not celebrating. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is that I would love to see Donald Trump out there doing 4 years. And that, again, opens up the door for J.D. Vance for 8, because I think J.D. Vance is absolutely brilliant. I love this. Georgia top election official is warning about disinformation. That's on CNN. Now, what's interesting, I'm beginning to realize, by the way, why Murphy Show keeps it on CNN. Because, Joan, it is like constant show prep.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, because every time I look up, it's like, oh, my God. So, really? So, CNN, of all places, they're warning about, and they've been doing this all the time. I realize this is a familiar refrain, but, you know, of all places, CNN is worrying about disinformation and reporting on the worries of disinformation when they are the disinformation network.
And who do they have speaking about it right at this very moment? Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams.
The queen of disinformation.
Joan.
What?
She won that governor's election.
Clearly.
You know that it was stolen from her.
Clearly it was.
Has she? She has not.
She has never apologized. She has never acknowledged that she lost the election.
I don't think she's ever admitted that she lost the election.
Right.
Yet here CNN is, and CNN, by the way, of course, they're always hand-wringing over whether or not Donald Trump is going to admit that he lost the election in 2024, concede the election if he indeed, air quotes, loses. Yet they have Stacey Abrams, the poster child, for doing just that. Unbelievable. By the way, I mean, there's a lot of news out there today, and Kamala Harris has been out there lying. We were speaking to Matthew Hurd about this in the previous hour, where everywhere you look this morning, there is the left and the Democrats spreading misinformation and disinformation about Donald Trump. So earlier we're talking about, and I was mentioning Mark Cuban, and about how Mark Cuban has gone out, and this was in the news yesterday, but it's really caught fire, where he said,
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
And he said that on The View. Do you know what is now happening is people are thinking, okay, so who has Donald Trump been around? That is the literal antithesis of what Mark Cuban is saying. Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh McEnany is incredible. I mean, she was, of course, Donald Trump's. I think she was the last White House press secretary. And by far, in my opinion, with all due respect to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was great as well. And there's another one. I mean, there's two. You got Sarah Sanders, and you've got Kayleigh McEnany, two incredibly intelligent and incredibly strong women. And yet Mark Cuban has the audacity to say,
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so now if you, and this is breaking this morning, if you go anywhere near the socials this morning, you've got all of these women formerly or currently affiliated with Donald Trump, and they're calling out Mark Cuban.
Hey, it's Kellyanne Conway with a special message for Mark Cuban and all the other misogynists that support Kamala Harris and love to spew hateful, divisive, sexist rhetoric.
Yeah, she's standing there in front of the ellipse and the White House. And of course, you know, Washington, D.C., because of all of the years of Democrat rule, you always hear the sirens in the background because, let's face it, people are always getting murdered in Washington, D.C.
Recognize this place? This is the ellipse, where presently a strong, intelligent woman is speaking without a teleprompter.
Yep.
Recognize that place? That's the White House. Your handpicked candidate, Hillary Clinton, lived there as wife of a president, but not as the president. Donald J. Trump beat her, in part because he is unafraid to surround himself with strong, intelligent, capable men and women.
Yeah, Kellyanne Conway, she was a big part of 2016 and Donald Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton. Sage Steele got into the mix. Now, if you don't know who Sage Steele is, she used to be on ESPN. Now she is a Trump-supporting podcaster.
And what you just said there is disrespectful, and it crosses the line. How about Tulsi Gabbard? Let me ask you about Tulsi, your friend Tulsi, right? At the end of the day, if she had not left the Democratic Party, I bet that you would think that she's strong and intelligent, but because she crossed the line, she's not?
I mean, that's what everybody is pointing out. It's almost like you got all of these memos to Mark Cuban.
Cuban's words are mean, sad, and misogynistic. And the left can't even define what a woman is. I am evangelist Alveda King.
Yeah, that is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece. And she's calling out Mark Cuban as well with her own memo to Mark Cuban on X. And Riley Gaines from right here in Middle Tennessee.
So if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a school teacher, if you are a U.S. military member and you're a woman and a Trump supporter, then to Mark Cuban, you are stupid and weak.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, if you're gonna put Kayleigh McEnany or Sarah Sanders next to Kamala Harris, or Tulsi Gabbard next to Kamala Harris, who do you think would measure up as smarter, more intelligent? I know who I would say, and that would obviously be the Kayleigh McEnany's or the Sarah Sanders.
Disgusting and misogynistic. The left can't even define what a woman is. Nope. My name is Hope Moreland, and I support President Trump.
So if you happen to be on X, and you can follow me on X at Dan Manda Show, you will see a lot. It's just like they're never ending. People are really angry with Mark Cuban, and they're letting him know. So now, as we spoke about before, you've got Barack Obama, who has managed to insult young black males. You've got now Mark Cuban, who has insulted women who are Trump supporting. And you've got Joe Biden, of course, who is, he's basically insulted half of America by saying that Donald Trump supporters are trash. And so the Harris campaign, they've got a lot to answer for, and they've got a lot of problems too, because they've got a candidate, Kamala Harris. She can't put two words together. So she can barely speak for herself. And so then what do you do? If you've got a candidate who can't speak for herself, then what do? You get other people, surrogates, to speak for her. And they keep screwing up. It is a sight to behold. And so, my opinion, the Harris campaign is definitely on its heels. It is 7:16. Time to check the roads on WTN. (7:17) on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather today, partly cloudy and a high of 67 degrees. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to play this real quick. We all know how much we don't like colleges and the colleges that are full of, woke and everything else. Donald Trump has now come out with an idea. The idea is called American Academy. Free education, no new debt, he says. And it is what seems to me, and I've got the audio here, it seems to me to be a really good alternative to the woke colleges. This was part of his announcement last night.
Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments, and we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy.
You know what's interesting about that? It just came to me. So the Democrats and Kamala Harris, they're always talking about, well, the rich have to pay their fair share, right? Which we all know is BS. But Trump is saying, and we could go through some of the endowments of some of these schools and how much money they receive. But Trump is basically telling Kamala Harris and the Harris campaign and all of these elite, woke, liberal colleges, you know what? We're going to take a page out of the Democrats' playbook. You folks, the rich schools, have to pay your fair share.
Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree. In addition, to help the 40 million Americans who have some college education but no degree, the American Academy will grant credit for past coursework at legacy institutions and give you the chance to complete your education at the American Academy for free and much more quickly than is now possible or available. This will be a revolution in higher education and will provide life-changing opportunities for tens of millions of our citizens. Enjoy it, learn from it, and thank you.
So one of the things that you know is going to happen is the left is going to absolutely freak out about this, because that's where, as you folks know, that's where a lot of the indoctrination happens, is in the colleges, specifically these highfalutin, four-year colleges, and they have, as Donald Trump said, a lot of the wokeism, a lot of the, anti-white Christian males. We remember those stories. But basically, at this point, it's basically anti-conservative. And so you can expand out the, these elite schools that are out there, these four-year colleges that are incredibly woke. I keep saying four-year colleges, but whatever. You know what I mean. Where you have all of this wokeism and all of this, pro-Hamas stuff that has been going on. And the thing is, when you have that kind of an environment, it is really hard to focus on an education. Now, for my 2 cents on this is I don't know the details on it. Trump, that was what he has released. But on the surface, I don't know how much it's going to cost. He says that he's going to go after some of these elite colleges and universities to get some of their endowment money and so forth. I understand that. I'd be willing to bet that overall, you're going to find a lot of people are going to be more amenable to those kinds of colleges that are, number one, free, but number two, you focus on what's really important, which is education. because that's what the American people do, and that's what our young adults do need to focus on when they go to college is quite literally an education as opposed to all of the other woke crap that we see in today's colleges and universities. It is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7:30.
Yep, Dan will tell you about what election, the vote, the early vote looked like. Wow, in Davidson County.
Joan, do you need some Space Cowboy coffee?
You know what? I probably do. I probably need it more than you, actually.
SpaceCowboyCoffee.com.
And by the way, there's a call about men who are voting in the U.S. There's a problem. We'll tell you about it coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here. Big news from my friends at DT McCall's. If you've been thinking about buying a gun safe, you've been putting it off, now is your time. Now is the perfect time. Because gun safes are sales tax free at DT McCall's. It is hunting season, so be sure that you're keeping your gun safe when you're not in the tree stand. With a Liberty gun safe from DT McCall's, they are the largest Liberty safe dealer here in the state of Tennessee. The question is why? Well, many reasons, but one of the biggest, free delivery and free setup. Other places going to charge you $500 at least for delivery and setup in bigger models and $300 for smaller ones as well. DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time period. No setup charge either. Find them online at dtmccalls.com for locations and information. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, Franklin, always online, dtmccalls.com. 7:28, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So what I love about the Super Text line, you ask and you shall receive. So we're talking about, Joan, that story about the TDOT worker.
Yeah.
Or the TDOT sign and the vulgarity. And boy, that is a vulgarity.
I can't believe that. I'm surprised.
Yeah, we got some photographs and slow worker ahead. Y'all effed.
Effed.
But it's the entire word.
Yeah. Some people actually took photos of it as they were passing by.
I would totally take a photo of it. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome. I'm not advocating.
Dan. Yeah.
I'm not advocating for vulgarity on our TDOT signs.
Okay, so does the guy, now they're saying that the worker, the contractor, will be, appropriately disciplined, whatever that is. What is the discipline for doing that? I mean, that's
got to be a breach of some sort of protocol.
You would think, but they're not saying, like TDOT didn't say, this guy's fired. Like, how could he do that? They're saying so funny? He would be disciplined.
Do you know what's so funny?
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet that nowhere in the protocols for these digital signs does it say don't put up vulgarity. Because it's, obviously common sense. So maybe the guy can say, there's nowhere in I'm looking at the rules. I don't see where I can't post vulgarity.
Maybe he didn't like his job.
And the truth of the matter is that, it's probably correct. People were effed because of all the traffic.
Yeah.
He's just being honest. All right, I got to go. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
7:30 on Nashville's Morning News. So many reasons to like My 2A Paradise, the Glock store. Now, number one, it is a great place to buy guns and ammo, get your firearms customized, and also the training. Now, they have these massive rooms where you can refine your shooting skills, firing behind corners, in the dark, in motion, and various target levels. So don't settle for lane ranges. Go to the Shoot 270 ranges at the Glock store. These folks are partners with WTN. They're one of our big sponsors for the November 5th election party, and they've been there for us for years. They've been there with us for years, advertising and sponsoring our events as we continue to fight the good fight. Now, remember, just generally speaking, that our advertisers, they help us spread the message. And the Glock store is not only a two-way paradise, but also a supporter to our cause. So come on out, have a blast on November 5th. And don't forget to reach out to the Glock store for all your training and two-way needs. Shoot270.com, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
7:31 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Yeah, we've got just 4 days until Election Day. Donald Trump is rallying in Michigan and Wisconsin today. You'll find Kamala Harris holding 3 events in Wisconsin. As for early voting, data shows more than 65 million Americans have already voted across the country. Women are outpacing men 54 to 44%. Meantime, at the White House, the Biden administration is working on some damage control.
The Associated Press reports the White House altered the transcript of President Biden's statement this week when he appeared to call Trump supporters garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
The AP reports the White House altered the record of those remarks despite the stenographer's concerns. A White House official overnight insisting the transcript was accurate and that Biden was addressing the hateful rhetoric from the comedian at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
We're learning this morning that the body of the last missing employee from Impact Plastics in Unicoi County has now been found. The body of 29-year-old Rosa Andrade was discovered in a debris pile along I-26. She was among 6 employees at that plant who died in the flooding that swept through the county on September 27th during Hurricane Helene. More than 300 people who signed up to become organ donors in Tennessee have now removed their names from the registry. That happened after a man from Kentucky reported that his organs were about to be harvested when doctors realized he was still alive. It happened in September. Organ donor advocates say that's highly unusual. There are more than 3,000 people in need of organ transplants in Tennessee right now.
And so it's really important that we look at our ability to provide a gift of life, not only as an opportunity to save people's lives, but also to really promote our own legacies at the end of our lives.
That's Dr. Jacques Franz Guiteau. He's a transplant doctor. He says one patient could serve as many as 75 individuals. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather still to come. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 7:33, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mark Spain Real Estate. Skip the hassle and sell your home with the strongest cash offer this fall with Mark Spain Real Estate. Their guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. Dan Mandis here, and with that guaranteed offer, you can skip the uncertainty and sell your home fast for all cash in as little as 21 days. There's no showings, no open houses, and no costly repairs, just cash in hand and a stress-free sale. Listener Ryan said that Mark Spain Real Estate exceeded their expectations by helping them achieve significantly over their asking price, and they say that we can't recommend Mark Spain enough, and neither can I. Now, their guaranteed offer gives you the peace of mind that your home will be sold when you need it to be sold. You're going to skip the hassle and sell your home with the strongest cash offer this fall. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home. 855-299-SOLD. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 855-299-SOLD. Go to markspain.com to get that guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Got a crash in Talbot's Corner on I-65, the southbound side near exit 86. There's a crash in the off-ramp right lane has been blocked off by it. Also in Mount Olivet, a crash at Lebanon Pike and Omohundro Drive. And a crash involving injuries. Stop-and-go traffic around this one. It's near the airport, Murfreesboro Pike at Donaldson Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to your, thank the Lord, it's Friday, November 1st. So J.D. Vance did a big podcast with Joe Rogan. By the way, Mason in for Johnny, who should be back on Monday. How long was the podcast with Joe Rogan and J.D. Vance? You have it in front of you.
Yeah. So the length of it, it's 3 hours and 17 minutes long.
Wow, longer than President Trump's.
Yeah, which beats Kamala's speaking record by
3 hours and 17 minutes,
Yeah.
yes. So J.D. Vance, and I was really looking forward to this. I'm going to be watching this over the weekend. Apparently J.D.'s podcast with Rogan coming in at over 7 million so far. By the way, Donald Trump is at 42. And by the way, that doesn't include, I mean, there's like a bazillion different places you can see it now.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything you can stream anything like podcast-wise on. Probably going to get another 5 million on top of that, would be my guess, because people listen to stuff like this, like driving into work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is J.D. Vance and talking about how Donald Trump asked him to be his VP.
The first time that I've been in a public spot without Secret Service in the room is right now. So I'm like looking around for these guys because I'm used to just having them. It's 3 months, right? So he asked me the Monday of the RNC convention, which I think was June 15th. And I really didn't know that morning. I thought that he was probably going to pick me, but I didn't know for sure. Probably 60-40, basically. And so I had no idea. I get the call around 1 o'clock at Milwaukee time at the RNC convention. I'm hanging out with my kid. Another one of my kids is in the other room asleep because, our kids are young, so they nap still. And he makes this call, and he's like, hey, do you want to be my vice president? I was like, oh.
Was it literally just like that?
Well, actually, what happened is I get a text message from a staff member on his team that says you just missed a very important phone call. And I don't know, because there's so much inbound traffic that I think it just went straight to voicemail. So I call him back and I'm like, hey, sir, what's going on? He said, JD, you just missed a very important phone call. I'm going to have to pick somebody else now. So I'm about to shit a brick here. And he says, no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I want you to be my vice president. And the funny thing is, my 7-year-old is in the background and he has no idea what's going on. And I love that, right? It's one of the good things about this. He has no clue what's going on. He's like, Dad, who are you talking to? He's talking about Pokemon cards, right? And Trump hears my son in the background and he says, well, who's that? And I said, that's my 7-year-old son, you. And he's like, put him on the phone. And I'm just anxious for him to get this statement out because in my mind it's not final until the statement is actually out. And he talks to my son and he reads the statement that he is going to put out on Truth Social announcing that I'm the VP nominee of the Republican Party. And he's like, what do you think about that, Ewan? And my son Ewan's like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then he gives the phone back to me. He's like, I have no idea what the hell's going on.
I mean, I love it. And here's the thing about J.D. Vance. He's like human. That's the thing. He's human. Kamala Harris could not do that. She couldn't sit for 3 hours and 17 minutes. I got a lot of reaction. I think it was a couple of days ago. The question was, why won't Kamala Harris do a sit down with Joe Rogan? And the people on the left are like, well, she will, but Joe Rogan's being a diva. Have you seen that, by the way? So in the news today, and I think it was going on yesterday too, but basically Joe Rogan has said, all I want to do is have a conversation with her. And Rogan says, I am willing to do this at 10 in the morning, 10 at night, midnight, whatever. I'm willing to do it. But you need to come to Austin. And we can't do only an hour, which was her demands. Who's being the diva, by the way? Is it Joe Rogan or is it Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris's supporters, they're saying that Rogan is being the diva because he won't go to her. Well, here's the deal. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both went to his Austin studios and gave Rogan, 3 hours. And I'm sorry, Kamala Harris, but you are not busier than Donald Trump. You are not busier than J.D. Vance. You're just not. And so people are calling Rogan a diva, and really it's Kamala Harris who is, to be honest, I don't think she's being a diva. I think she's just scared. I mean, a diva is somebody who thinks that they're too good to be in a situation. Kamala Harris realizes she's not good enough to be in that situation. And we see examples of that every single day. And so if you have some time, go watch the interview with J.D. Vance and Joe Rogan, because it is really good. And there's a lot of really good comments in there. Some salty language, I'm just going to tell you, but you know what? That's part of what they do on the Rogan podcast. One of the things that they talked about, are we back in delay? We had to drop an S-bomb earlier. Thankfully, we got it. But they also were talking about, which the S-bomb got past me when I listened to the clips earlier. This is J.D. Vance and Joe Rogan, and they're talking about journalism.
You need good reporters who have the investigatory skills, who are empowered by their employers to go out and do the investigations. Like, your platform, you're having more honest and open conversations than anything that's happening in the corporate media. It's like one of the reasons why I listen to your show, one of the reasons why I'm happy to be here. But you don't have like a person working for you who's going to go to like France and talk to this woman and investigate whether this is true. This is why, I've told Elon this, but like the most useful piece of philanthropy, if you're a right of center American, would be to set up a nonprofit organization where you pay a really good reporter for 5 years, you give them complete job security, and you just tell them, go off and investigate what's going on in the world and bring it back and report on the truth.
He's absolutely right. I mean, NPR is government funded, and NPR is clearly biased, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But, I like what J.D. Vance has to say. Catherine Herridge, for example, she is out there doing independent journalism now because I think it was CBS let her go. And so now she's on her own. And that was a bit controversial when she got let go of CBS, because she was in the middle of investigating basically the IRS whistleblowers who were blowing the whistle on the intelligence agencies and all these folks not investigating Hunter Biden because they wanted to protect Joe Biden. And she had the IRS whistleblowers who were blowing the whistle on all of that. And all of a sudden, not only did she get let go from the networks, but if I remember correctly, and I don't know if she got all of her materials back, but they wouldn't give her her materials. And there's a lot of great independent journalism that is happening out there. And then there's the crap that is passing for journalism on CNN and the networks. I got a little bit more on this at 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you very much. 7:47, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your weather for this weekend, partly cloudy today and a high of 67. Saturday, mostly sunny, a high of 78. And on Sunday, watch for some clouds and highs in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So here's why journalism matters. Because I've been sitting here all morning long. There's case after case after case of these so-called journalists that are clearly in the tank for Kamala Harris. For example, on CNN, which purports to be a news station, a news cable channel, they are totally and completely taking Donald Trump's words out of context when he talked about wanting to protect women, whether they like it or not. This is Donald Trump, what he said about protecting women.
And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. I said, why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. Pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it?
Yeah, for this.
I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
Yeah, and Trump is basically saying that he wants to protect women and men, obviously, but from the perils of illegal immigration. That was the context with which he was talking. He was talking about illegal immigration.
Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions all over the world, from Venezuela to the Congo, including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women and girls.
Yeah, that's what Donald Trump was talking about. And when he said whether they like it or not, which is what Kamala Harris and her allies in the media are talking about and reporting this morning, is that they're saying that he was talking about abortion when in reality he was talking about illegal immigration and the rising crime. All of these things have been issues within the last 3.5+ years of the Biden-Harris administration. And when he said whether the women like it or not, he wants to protect all women, whether they were voting for Kamala Harris or whether they're voting for him. But Kamala Harris is now out there, and the media is running with this because she is saying that, oh, this is Donald Trump talking about abortion as opposed to illegal immigration, a blatant lie.
Former President Donald Trump has said that he would be a protector of women, whether they like it or not. What do you make of that, and how does that contrast with your views on women and their rights and needs?
Well, I'll just speak on behalf of myself, but also the Americans that I speak with every day around our country, regardless of their gender, which is the majority of Americans believe that women are intelligent enough and should have and be respected for their agency to make decisions for themselves about what is in their best interest and not have their government, and certainly not Donald Trump, telling them what to do.
Sanctimonious gaslighting. That's what that is, sanctimonious gaslighting. You can hear that tone in her voice. But the thing is, everybody, I mean, if you're paying attention, you know that she was talking about, Donald Trump was talking about illegal immigration.
And his latest comment is just the most recent in a series of examples that we have seen from him in his words and deeds about how he devalues the ability of women to have the choice and the freedom to make decisions about their own body.
I mean, she's blatantly lying. And I understand, it's like every day I come in, it's like every day this week, I've come in and I have had to fact check Kamala Harris because they are perpetually lying.
I will comment on the former President Donald Trump's remark about women and whether they like it or not. And listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies. And this is just the latest on a series of reveals by the former president of how he thinks about women and their agency.
I mean, the blatant lying, the blatant hypocrisy. And for Kamala Harris, and the thing that obviously she's missing, or she's not missing, but she's lying, gaslighting, is that they don't want to talk about what Trump was really talking about, which is the scourge of illegal immigration that is happening in this country that has impacted women, whether it's women being murdered, women being raped. It goes on and on. We know that it's happening. But Harris doesn't want to talk about that. She'd rather obfuscate Donald Trump's words and take his words. She's not even taking his words out of context. She and her partners in the media, they're lying about what the former president, possibly future president, had to say about all of this. We'll continue to cover that and a whole lot more on Super Talk 99.7. And Joan Jones has the news coming up at 8. Joan, what's coming up?
Male voters, listen up. You are falling behind And there is a measure of the economy this morning that came in very, very disappointing. We've got those stories coming up for you at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Joan. Get in the fight. Listen, friends, we don't have to wait until November 5th to start taking our country back. We can get in the fight right now with Coin, the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions to the left like other cards, Coin advances conservative values and charities. Earn cash back while fighting back with Coin. Apply right now at coin.com. Add a G, COIGN, coin.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. Coin is your conservative values credit card. Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Populations of animals. I mean, think about the white-tailed deer and how when Ed started, and maybe even before Ed a little bit, they started, working to bring these populations back. And now we have these sustainable populations that we can hunt.
Yeah.
The story of the eastern wild turkey and what's happening with turkeys. So I would consider all these things great successes. The conservation efforts that have been worked on by the personnel for years, I would think that it's a great success story for our state.
You're going to see some footage from an old film that was produced here at the agency in the Game and Fish days, and which shows some things like, the wife taking care of the animal that the officer, the husband, had to bring home to take care of, because they got a call, and times have changed. Now we have the rehabilitators that help out with that kind of thing. And
thank goodness. We got to be really good friends with some of those little animals. And my first commission in 1972.
Okay. Yeah.
At that time, it was a little different. The whole law enforcement world was different then. So anyway, we got the first commission in 1972 and worked all over the state. It was really great to be able to do that. Pretty much you had one uniform. I noticed in the movie too, everybody wearing ties. For years and years, you had to, if you wore a long sleeve shirt, you had to wear a tie. It didn't matter if you were doing enforcement or sailing a pond or whatever you were doing, you had that tie on.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then everybody looked forward. There was one date, and it kind of moved. It was generally around April the 1st. You switched from long sleeves to short sleeves, and you didn't have to wear a tie. And everybody's going, come on, April 1st.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand from 99.7 WTN. If you're thinking about advertising this year in 2025 and beyond, you have to combine the power of radio with the power of digital. We do it here flawlessly, and our sales team can hook you up with a package tailored to your exact needs. So if you want to advertise, advertise with me. Advertise with 99.7 WTN. Go to the website for more info, 997WTN.com/epic.
Eight o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 57, a little overcast now, but we're going to 70 later on today. The full forecast. We've got traffic, too, coming up in a couple of minutes. Just days to go now till Election Day, and as we learn more about the makeup of early voters, there is a warning bell for male voters.
More than 62 million Americans have already voted. In Pennsylvania, some potentially encouraging news for Harris. 58% of votes cast by seniors in that state so far have been cast by Democrats, compared to 35% by Republicans. And people over the age of 65 account for nearly half the early ballots in that state. Across the country, data shows women outpacing men in early voting, 54 to 44%. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk posting this: early vote has been disproportionately female. If men stay at home, Kamala is president. It's that simple.
ABC's Perry Russum reporting. A Wilson County woman under arrest for voter fraud. 33-year-old Erica Waterbury indicted in July, charged just last month. However, the details of her charges are not clear. Hans van Spakovsky with the Heritage Foundation looks at voter fraud cases and election integrity across the country. He spoke to Channel 4.
Let's say I actually live in Chattanooga, but I claim that I am a resident of Nashville and I register there. Even though I'm a resident of Tennessee, I'm claiming residence someplace where I don't actually live. That would be an illegal registration.
Waterbury's due in court later this month to New York now, where an illegal migrant has been accused of raping a 5-year-old girl on Long Island. Police say Wilson Castillo Diaz is his name. He is 26 years old. He skipped his immigration hearing after being cut loose at the border near Rio Grande, Texas in 2014. It's not clear what country he is originally from. Diaz is being held today on $200,000 cash bond. And the final jobs report before Election Day, what a disappointment.
The big jobs report, and the prophecy came true. Jobs light, 12,000 in non-farm payroll. That is the lightest going back to December of 2020.
And that's the call on CNBC as that report was released this morning. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Matt Murphy with Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 2024 is coming to a close, and what a great year it was. We are looking forward to an exciting 2025, and we want you to be a part of it. If you're looking for marketing or digital strategy for your business, we want to be on your team. It is a wonderful three-legged stool. You, me, and the listener, and we want to be a part of your family. So join us at 997wtn.com/epic to find out more, and we'll see you in 2025.
Looks like we have some problems this morning on Lebanon Pike at Omohundro Drive. There's a crash that involves some injuries. Also, Murfreesboro Pike at Smith Springs Road, a crash this morning, and that's going to be causing some delays in that area as well. Southbound 65 before Old Hickory Boulevard, that's exit 74, a crash there, taking the left and right shoulders away from traffic. Both of the left and right shoulders are blocked. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Couple of things real quick, Joan. So
Yes.
you've got CNN, and their graphic was that the economy added 12,000 jobs in the final jobs report before the election.
Yes.
But nowhere do they say how disappointing of a jobs report this is.
Oh, this was so bad. They were expecting
115,000.
115,000. Last month, they added 223,000. So the comparison there, 223, and then it drops to 12,000.
Yeah, that's huge. That is a massively, massively disappointing.
There were 44,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs, that were taken out of the economy, and that was because of the Boeing strike.
Yeah, the Boeing strike, and they're talking about the hurricanes and the impact of the hurricanes and so forth. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, all the economists will look at all of the reasons. I'm reading from The Hill. They say it's really impossible to quantify the net effect of the over-the-month change in national employment when it comes to the hurricanes and all of the factors that have happened. The bottom line is that this is going to look really bad for Kamala Harris, regardless as to what the reasons are. But to be perfectly honest, at this point, I think that regardless of this jobs number, 115,000 expected versus only 12,000, I think they are not voting for Kamala Harris. They're voting against Donald Trump. So I don't know if this will actually have any kind of an impact. But here's what's interesting. So I got this note from 0035 talking about, now I'm skipping over to the whole Donald Trump, whether the women like it or not comment.
Yeah.
He says, you, Mandis, are misrepresenting what Donald Trump said, just like CNN. He did not say whether women like it or not. He said whether they like it or not. In other words, he's saying Trump said whether they like it or not, whether, as opposed to saying whether the women like it or not. He was referring to the consultants that told him not to say it and not women.
Oh, yes.
So I thought, okay, well, you know what? There's a very strong possibility that I misheard. So being the dutiful talk show host that I am, I went back and I listened to what Donald Trump said, and let's all listen together.
And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. I said, why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
There you go. So whether the women like it or not.
Yeah.
So is this one of those moments where I should, say Mandis was right? No, I'm not going to do that. I had like 3 people, though, come at me on the super text line, which is fine.
To challenge you on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. I don't care. Whatever. Because I think most people got it, which is, again, fine. It shows that they're listening closely, but not close enough.
Ah, don't you love that?
I think that's what it was.
So people are engaged. And I think that's really the point here is that people are very, very engaged.
Yeah, they are.
Nobody's walking into this election blindly.
No. Hey, Mason, take the phones off hold, won't you?
Why are you talking to him so nice?
615, because I'm going to make him answer phone calls. 615-737-9986. I want a quick round of calls. Because I haven't talked to people on the phone all week. I want to take a quick round of phone calls, 615-737-9986. I want to know how you feel going into November 5th. Are you confident? Are you not confident? Where do you stand right now? Hey, Mason, don't bother to just give me a name. I don't need to screen them. Because I'm genuinely curious. Where are you at, Joan? Without showing too much of a bias, but I mean, are you feeling good? Not so good? I guess I'm asking you to be biased, but whatever. Go
okay,
ahead.
so I have to tell you, I listened to somebody yesterday, a podcast, and this person said, "I want you right now." He called it like a thought experiment or something. He said, "I want you right now to imagine." That it's election day, it's election night, everything's done, and we find out that Kamala Harris has won. How are you feeling if you know that she has won? What emotions do you have? And he went through this with several people. You know, what are you feeling? And people were calling, literally crying.
Yeah.
And it made me. And the point of this thought experiment was, if you haven't already gone out to vote or you haven't called people to help them find a way to the polls or taken anybody with you, or you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. And so I think about that and how much we are all used to doing to helping others get to the polls. We're not used to doing that. Mm-hmm. This is a new era that we're in.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, well, and I'm also very, very afraid of how much hanky panky is going to go on at the polls.
Hijinks and shenanigans.
Absolutely.
So a couple of things that you talked about how this is a very emotional time, and I think you're right because we've never had the stakes be so high before, and I know that we say this every year, but you know one of the things that J.D. Vance said yesterday during this podcast with Joe Rogan. And I love Ronald Reagan, but he's absolutely right. Where we all know that Ronald Reagan, way back when he was president, he allowed amnesty, right? Remember all that?
Yes.
And so one of the things that J.D. Vance said is one of the reasons why California is now solidly Democrat. It's a blue state, is because of that decision by Ronald Reagan to allow amnesty. And because California at the time, and certainly now as well, had a lot of illegal aliens. And then Reagan allows amnesty. A lot of those illegal aliens in California, then ultimately they were allowed to vote. And now we have California, which is solidly blue and is probably never going to go back, because people in California, and I can say this as a Californian, they're not real bright, because they will keep voting blue no matter who and no matter how deplorable their state becomes. They just do that. That's what they do. It is absolute insanity. I will never understand why people vote for the same party over and over again, even though they have serious empirical evidence that it's not working.
There are other states, though, that are being mentioned a lot. New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Perhaps switching over to red. New Jersey, which, that's crazy, because New Jersey is so solidly blue, at least the northern portion of the state, which is where most of the population
lives. Yeah, but they
lives.
had Chris Christie as the governor.
They also had Christy, what was her name?
In Whitman. New Jersey?
Yeah, Christy Whitman was also the governor. She was a Republican, but she was very much a tepid Republican. Chris Christie, the same thing.
Yeah.
Maryland had, he's running for Senate now.
Yeah. Your mind is blanket, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Listen.
But the leadership sometimes isn't the same as the electorate.
Yeah. All right, 8:15. So yeah, you're right, Joe. Oh, you're absolutely right on that. Look at the Republicans. Well, back when the leaders of the Republican Party, like your Paul Ryans, for example, your Mitch McConnell, who's on his way out, very middle of the road and mainstream, and the electorate for the Republican Party, mainstream Republicans, man, we are far more in Donald Trump's corner than we ever were for the likes of Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell. All right, going to check the traffic. Then I'm going to get your calls. One line is open, 615-737-9986. Time to check the roads. Thank you, Mason. 8:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather today, partly cloudy and a high of 67. It's been eons since I got to speak to Cecil. How are you, Cecil? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, my man, I enjoy you when you be filling in on Red Eye Radio, because I work at night driving trucks.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been a minute since you and I spoke.
Yeah, I know, man. But I'm always in, I'm like a rash. I'm always around. I'm always checking you out.
Well, listen, Cecil, here's the deal. Are you coming to our big event on November 5th?
November 5th.
Yeah, it's a voting day. We're going to have a big event in Lebanon at the fairgrounds, Wilson County Fairgrounds.
I would love to, but I think I have a performance for the Cattlemen's Association, Deer Valley Farms.
Oh, okay.
That day.
All right, very good. Very good. All right, well, go ahead.
To answer the question of what you're asking the people, I'll be honest with you, man, I've got butterflies, because we've already got a few states that are already talking about not having the results until after, a couple of days, whatever. And I'm thinking that, when I hear that, I get, kind of worried, that the same thing is going to happen like with Pennsylvania and then Georgia, with them just shuttling votes and everything, though. But I'm very afraid. I'm afraid. I really am. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm afraid. I'm happy. What's going on as far as the turnout for Trump, but all it takes is just. I'm hoping that he reaches 270 before those other states that are talking about holding out even come in with their results. So hopefully he already reached that point before it comes to that.
Yeah, we're worried, and Cecil, I appreciate the call. It needs to be, and I've said this 1,000 times, it needs to be a blowout. It really does need to be a blowout. The reason I asked, by the way, Joan, you weren't with us at the time. The reason I asked Cecil if he was going to come to our event is because everybody knows, I'm not a hugger. I have such an affinity for Cecil. I like Cecil a lot. Whenever he calls, I love him. And I like all you people, but I really like Cecil. So I broke my personal policy, and I actually went in for a hug on Cecil.
Did he stiffen up on you?
He stiffened up on me. Well, I mean, yeah, he was like, "Don't hug me." You know what I mean? I thought I took a chance.
Yeah. Isn't that always when it stings you?
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Amy said, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you hugging people?" I don't know, because I like Cecil. Whatever. Sharon is on line 5 on WTN. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Dan. So I totally believe that it is going to be a blowout for Donald Trump. I believe that he's going to win by a landslide. However, I also believe that the stealing from the other side is going to be unbelievable. I just think they're so devious, and they've been plotting and planning how they're going to steal it all this time.
Yep.
And I'm really worried. So honestly, I believe Donald Trump's going to win, but I'm very worried about the left stealing.
Well, and Sharon, you're absolutely right, and that is why we need a blowout. That's what I was saying earlier. We need a blowout so that there are no hijinks and shenanigans that they can do. And we're talking earlier, Joan was reporting that men are falling behind in going to the polls in early voting. Not cool, guys. You got to get out and you got to vote. This is Dan on line 1 on WTN. Hey, Dan.
Hey, good morning. Just relocated from the battleground state of Ohio, first-time caller.
Oh, hey, Dan.
And hi. I would encourage you to listen very carefully to what Trump said about protecting women, because the they was actually his publicists. If you listen to the entire quote, it wasn't even the they being women. He said, they don't want me to say it. They don't want me to say it. But I'm going to protect women, whether they want to me or not. He's talking about the publicists.
No. Dan, I don't want to relitigate this. He says whether the women like it or not. I don't think there's anything, Dan, just so we're clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with what Donald Trump said. But he was talking about two different things. He was talking about how his political advisors don't want him to say that he wants to protect women because the publicists say that some, people, I guess, would find it misogynist and sexist for whatever reason. I don't really understand that part, but whatever. But then he literally says, I'm going to protect the women whether they want me to or not. I mean, that is what he said. Joan, am I missing something here?
I don't think so, and I'm surprised that people are so adamant about this point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm missing something. Marie's on line 2 on WTN. Hey, Marie.
Hi, Dan. Love your show. Dan, you're not missing anything. This is what it is. My children, I have 3 children, we have not felt safe in this country since Donald Trump has not been president.
Yeah.
Any women out there, girls and women and mothers and fathers that don't want the president of the United States to protect our children, yes, our children, our girls, the women, our moms, our sisters, we want protection. We want protection from the illegals that are coming in and killing and raping every single day. Well, my girls can't go downtown Nashville anymore without fear.
Right.
We don't feel safe anywhere anymore with this administration. So anybody that takes offense to a leader of a country that wants to protect us women, we need this.
Yeah.
We don't have protection right now.
Well,
so no, please, anybody, do not take offense. We need protection.
Well, and Marie, I appreciate it. And I don't want to, and again, I don't want to get mired down in what exactly it is that Donald Trump said. But I mean, to me, he clearly said, I'm going to protect the women, whether the women like it or not. I mean, that is, let's see, I think I've got it queued up here again. Let me see here. Very quickly.
I think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
I mean, I don't know. Dan, I love you, and I really appreciate you moving here from Ohio. Welcome. Listen, friends, if I'm missing something, let me know. But he clearly says, I'm going to protect the women, whether they like it or not, whether the women like it or not. That is exactly what Donald Trump said. Joe is on line 3 on WTN. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. I don't feel good about the election at all for two reasons. One is he's very polarizing, and like you said earlier, people aren't voting for Kamala; they're voting against Donald Trump.
Yep.
So you could run an inanimate carbon rod, which they kind of have either with Kamala or Biden, and they would probably win just because people don't like Trump. And then the other thing is, like it's been alluded to, the shenanigans. And I think it might not be a blowout because of shenanigans. And it only takes a few districts, a few counties, really, to turn the state one way or another.
Right.
And that can turn the whole election. So that's a little bit scary to me.
It is scary, Joe. And here's a part of my response would be that it could be a blowout in either direction. That's the weird thing about this election, is it could be a blowout for Kamala in the Electoral College or Donald Trump. It just depends on what happens with that blue wall. And so, and yeah, I believe that I disagree with you on the whole, Donald Trump thing and how people don't like Donald Trump. Millions of people love Donald Trump, but he also brings out the passions on the other side where people are not voting for Kamala Harris. The Democrats are not necessarily voting for Kamala Harris. They are voting because they hate Donald Trump. But here's the thing. If you had Ron DeSantis in there or some other Republican, whoever it would be, they're not going to bring out as much enthusiasm and excitement for Donald Trump as Trump does within the Republican Party. And I believe the independents now as well. So I get what you're saying, but we have Donald Trump as a candidate, and I think that he is bringing a lot of excitement, far more than a Ron DeSantis or a Ted Cruz or whoever would bring. And I can just tell you that I know that because there's a lot of people in my circle that liked Ron DeSantis, but he did not bring that enthusiasm or that excitement that Donald Trump does. 8:25 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Mason, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do traffic, and then I'll take care of Busy Bee here later on in the hour. It is 8:26 on WTN.
Good morning. It's now 8:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Early voting ended yesterday in Tennessee. Totals from the Davidson County Election Commission show more than 209,000 cast their ballots early this year. Yesterday alone, almost 21,000 people showed up to vote across the county, making it the most popular day to vote early. Now, if you didn't vote early, your last shot at being able to make a change will be on Tuesday on Election Day. That's the final day. A teenage suspect held in an overnight shooting that left 2 people dead, 6 others wounded. It happened at a Halloween event in downtown Orlando. ABC's Jim Ryan says investigators are working to determine a motive.
Police issued their first alert about an active shooter just after 1 in the morning when shots were fired into a crowd of people.
It was definitely scary, but it's expected downtown, I feel like.
Sophia Akala lives in downtown Orlando near the site of the violence.
Every time there's an event, people shoot.
Police arrested a 17-year-old armed with a handgun near the scene.
Halloween's just in our rearview mirror now, but Nashville's Metro Parks Department is already looking for its Christmas tree. It has to be a Norway spruce. It has to be 30 to 40 feet tall, and it has to look good from every angle. If you think you have a tree on your property that fits the bill, the Parks Department has a phone number to call, and I'll give you that number. They'll come out, they'll remove the tree and plant a new one in its place. Now, here's that number. It's 615-862-8400. Well, stocks looks like investors have shrugged off that very weak jobs report for October. The Dow Jones Industrial starting off 202 points higher. The NASDAQ is up 122, and the S&P 500 index is plus 28 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32, Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Now is the time to call my friends at Cove Generators, and right now, they're offering you a free 7-year warranty, and that is over $1,000 value. So if you've ever wanted a backup home standby generator, now is the time to do it. Plus, great financing options are also available with Cove Generators. They are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer in the state of Tennessee. So be prepared for the next power outage and call Cove Generators and never lose power again. 931-559-3311. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, and you can get that free 7-year warranty. 931-559-3311. They can also service your Generac automatic standby generator or any brand of generator that you own. 931-559-3311, covegenerators.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's an accident on Antioch Pike at Azell Pike. That's also a crash this morning. Bell Road at Rural Hill Road. That one involves some injuries. And same thing, an injury crash in Bordeaux on Buena Vista Pike at Russia Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was speaking to Dr. Christopher Van Shank the other day at a station event. Now, he's a psychiatrist, and he was telling me about the mental health crisis here in America. And as you know, it's out of control. The COVID lockdowns were an absolute disaster. And Dr. Van Shank, again, he's a psychiatrist. And if you're one of those people, you feel like maybe you need to talk to somebody, I would recommend Dr. Christopher Van Shank. He can help you with addictions, depression, anxiety. He can also help kids with the same thing. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's been helping people, and he is here for you today. So if you want to check out his website is nolensvillepsychiatry.com. That's nolensvillepsychiatry.com. There's a whole list of issues that he can help you with. So check him out. If you feel like he can help you, give him a call. The number is below, and good luck. .838, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Four. Mason is in for JB, and we've got Joan Jones over there in the dust-encrusted news corner.
That's me.
And dust-encrusted?
Yeah, dust-encrusted
Dust-encrusted
news
So
corner.
I used to work for, a really big news organization, and they called it the Glass Enclosed Nerve Center. It was very, it was beautiful. It was engineeringly sound.
It was like a marvel of radio engineering.
And they dusted every day.
And then she came here.
Yeah. But gotta tell you, like it here.
And the first day, this is how I knew that Joan and I were going to get along just fine. Because I was joking about, what do they call it, Joan, at TOP?
The Glass Enclosed Nerve Center.
The Glass Enclosed Nerve Center. And so we're going back and forth. And I said something. So you've gone from the Glass Enclosed Nerve Center to, and then she comes up, I still laugh, the dust encrusted news corner. That was on day one, like one of her first breaks, man. And they're like, I really like Joan.
You're fitting in, Joan.
Well, she's,
Thanks, guys.
Now, I think that we've been having so much fun today. I'm so glad it's Friday. Hey, Chris, how was your Halloween?
It was good.
Yeah. By the way, Riker went as the Grim Reaper. And I think that was kind of foreshadowing for today's show.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what. Virginia was inspired by you and Amy having a couple's costume. So we did a couple's costume for the first time ever last night.
Oh, really?
What'd you do?
Trump and trash. So Virginia put on a trash bag for me.
She got a trash bag.
She got a trash bag for you?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Do you have a picture?
I do. Not on me, but I will.
How do you not post these things to social media?
I don't know.
You're on the gram.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I posted a picture of me and Murphy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's
in our couple's costume.
I did see that.
Me and Murphy's couple's costume happened first.
You know what I think the best part of that photo is? So Chris came in yesterday with the safety vest on.
Yep.
And so then Murphy, I'm wondering if it was a last minute thing where he heard that you had a vest on, so he ran to the grocery store and he got himself a big old trash bag to put on?
It was actually an 8:07 text, and I said, I sent a picture of me in the vest. I said, gonna need you to wear a garbage bag. And all I got back was a thumbs up emoji, and Murphy showed up.
So you
ready.
instructed him to get the garbage bag? That's
Murphy
awesome.
showed up ready to bawl.
He did.
He was here for it.
Now, did he actually wear the garbage bag for the entire radio broadcast like you did?
Well, I think he wore it through his first break, and then he got a little sweaty. He got a little sweaty in the garbage bag.
Listen.
So then
we all have to make sacrifices, all right, for our conservatism.
But then he disrobed, and he had an even better shirt underneath.
What was the shirt underneath?
He had a Friday the 13th Jason mask, and it said "No Lives Matter."
He did. So I wonder if Matt. I didn't watch the show yesterday. I wonder if Matt did the whole thing with Hulk Hogan.
I
where he
told
just
him he
pulls
should. Dude, I told him he should do the Hulk.
Yeah, do the Hulk.
I don't know if he did it.
All right.
If
Very
he did,
good.
if he didn't, it was a missed opportunity.
So did you have 4 kids trick-or-treating last night?
We did. And it came to the realization last night. It's like, yeah, the big ones, they have no time for me and the wife anymore on Halloween. They were just gone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we had to, reel them in a few times. Like, guys, come back.
Was it raining?
We waited until the rain kind of stopped a bit. But
Wow.
it was, I don't know if you noticed, it was dead out there last night.
Yeah.
Just a quiet Halloween.
Actually, we had a lot of people. I was surprised. So Amy and I went with Riker, Grim Reaper, and we went trick-or-treating with some friends. But it was kind of funny because I go to a house, and I swear that I know this is true. For whatever reason, I'm leading the charge with Riker and his little friend. And so we go up to a house, and a woman, the next door
You're going
neighbor.
to tell this story?
Huh?
You're going to tell this story?
No, Joan.
Yeah,
not
do
that
it.
story.
No,
Not
come on.
no,
Come
not
on.
that. No,
Okay.
everybody, stop.
All right.
So,
Still think you should do it.
so the woman says, I'm like walking up. They're not home. The woman next door. They're not home. You moron.
She said, you moron?
No, she didn't.
Oh.
So she's
Was
like,
the light off?
She's like, yeah, it was. She's like, Dan.
That's your sign.
But here's the thing.
In
Some
the
houses are
South-
doing it for spooky effect.
Yeah. And she says, Dan, I know you're not from the South. So then at that point, I knew she was a listener.
Oh.
I know you're not from the South, but the lights off is your indication. You moron.
That was an implied bless your heart.
You know what? I did feel a little bless your hearted, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact.
Did you?
Very nice woman. She listens every day, so hello. I'm not sure what her name is, but hello and thank you.
So my 7-year-old, when we would make it up to the doors, he felt the need to explain me and my wife's costume to everybody. Said, you see, Biden called us garbage. so Trump showed up in a garbage truck, and that's why my dad's dressed like that. My
That's
mom's
so
dressed like
cute.
trash.
It's kind of funny because these days dressing like trash has 2 different meanings.
Listen,
Actually.
hey.
Yeah.
One very good and the other one not so good. But your wife was the good dressed like trash.
She was hot garbage last night.
She's
Was
too
she hot?
beautiful to be garbage.
Amy, okay, so this is funny. So we posted the pictures on my Facebook. I posted the picture on my Facebook page. Amy got all excited because somebody said that she was hot salsa because she was salsa and I was a chip, right? Chips and salsa.
Yeah, what?
And she says, "Oh wait, my costume said hot salsa." So, but yeah, it was a good time. And if you want to check out how Amy and Riker and I looked in our costumes, check out my
I'm seeing
Dan
it.
Mandy Show Facebook
I'm
page.
seeing it. Oh, she was extremely hot salsa.
She was, but see, Amy's hot salsa, whether she's wearing a hot salsa costume or not.
You know,
Points.
Well, you know what?
Chris-
I say so many. Say so many things about Amy that people are like, "Why are you doing this? You're going to be sleeping on the couch."
Yeah. Chris, you must have an abundance of candy. What are you doing?
Well, we're stealing it from the kids when they're not looking.
Yeah.
All right, now how much candy did you eat yesterday?
Oh my gosh, too much.
So
Too much.
Joan was laughing at me because I came in this morning, and I said that I was feeling a little sluggish, and she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I had candy." So of course, shame spiraling because I used to be well over 200 pounds, and so in my mind, I've gained like 90 pounds back because I've had two
Just because
small pieces of candy.
he had 2 little pieces of candy.
But then
that was it.
But then I told Joan I also had half a pizza. So there was that.
So my kids, they're so funny. They looked at me and they said, "Dad, promise us that you won't eat." And then they just stopped and they turned to my wife and said, "Mom, promise us that Dad won't eat our candy."
Yeah.
Promises made, promises kept.
You know, I think this came from Washington, D.C., where they say promises are meant to be broken. I mean, we are in a political year. We are in an election year.
I was teaching the kids about taxes. You know, you got to pay your taxes.
That's exactly
and
right.
There's a heavy dad tax on any candy that's coming
There
into
you
the
go.
house.
Fair enough.
Here's how you teach your kids about taxes. You take 10 pieces of candy, and you say, okay, under Republicans, they're going to take 2 pieces of candy. Under Democrats, they're going to take 7. I think that's what you do.
Yep.
And the other 3 pieces they're going to redistribute to kids without candy.
That's the socialism lesson.
That's exactly right.
Yep. It's good.
Or, and really today's Democrats, they're going to take 7 pieces of candy and they're going to send it to Ukraine.
This is true.
That's what they're going to.
How many of you guys gave away full-size bars?
We gave all ours away.
Full size, or did you have the snack size?
We had some snack size and some full size. And I you know who got the most candy in my neighborhood? Some kid is a kid probably about 11, and he is guiding his little 5-year-old brother trick or treating, and it was so awesome. So I gave the little 4 or 5-year-old some candy, and then I hooked up the 11-year-old who wasn't even wearing a costume. I said, take all these full bars. You're doing great. You're doing right by your brother. And he left my house with his pockets just stuffed.
Smile.
How I thought
nice.
it was so cute. I thought it was great.
I wouldn't have allowed it. I would have been disappointed. No costume, no candy. I mean, there's some things that you have to just stick to your guns on.
You know, it touched me because, it was better than my brother who cracked my head open when he threw me into that corner when I was like 6.
Okay.
So
wow, we're back on your brother
you still
again,
have
huh?
the little PTSD.
Yeah.
Why does it always go back to my childhood?
It
you
does.
Know, so I had a dream. Like everybody knows, my mom passed away last year.
Yeah.
So, my mom, and I've mentioned this before, but she used to harp on my weight all the time, and everybody knows I've lost a lot of weight, and so I had a dream the other day that my mother was in my dream.
Oh no!
And she told me I was gaining my weight back.
Wow.
Even in my dreams, and I loved my mother very much, but even in
your dreams, your mother nags you.
It's like, oh my gosh.
This is what I hope for with my kids.
That's exactly right. So when I go to heaven where mom is, the first thing she's going to say is, ow. Betty, you had that half a pizza, that half a pizza, didn't you, Dan? So, yeah, kind of funny anyway. All right.
You were coming to meet Jesus, but you had to have that extra slice, didn't you? Didn't you?
You know what? I've always heard that when you go to heaven, your best self goes up to heaven, which will be me when I was like 18.
So you're going to have the long hair.
I'll have the long hair and, like 80, 90 pounds less than the whole thing.
You're going to walk up, you're going to check your reflection in the gates, you're going to throw down a baste, and then you're going to get in there.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. I'll go and I'll be all red-pilled. I
love it. I love it.
There you go. All right. 7679 says, dang, Amy is hot. LOL. Yeah, she is.
Oh.
Everybody always likes to say, outkicked my coverage.
Yep.
Can I tell you how old that gets after a while?
My dad.
I've been with her for like 7 years. It's like, stop it.
My dad always says that I have great taste in women, but she has terrible taste in men.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I get.
Wow.
That's got to be fun.
That's what I get.
All right, Chris, what's coming up next?
Well, on the show today, we are going to dive into the latest hoax. Donald Trump wants to line up Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad.
We've been talking about that earlier in the broadcast. There are so many stories that are out there where they're trying to mischaracterize what Donald Trump said. And this is so classic. I didn't even know about this story until I looked at CNN, and the headline was something to the extent of Donald Trump's violent rhetoric against Liz Cheney. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to go find the audio. And now you have to, it's like our job is like fact checking.
So we'll cover that. Plus Mark Cuban laying down an insult against all women. We have the latest on that. And then we also have some good audio from RFK Jr. at that event last night with Trump and Tucker Carlson. Plus Kamala Harris, she's proving to me that there are only 3 things guaranteed in this country: death, taxes, and her being interrupted by Palestinian protesters at rallies. That's it. That's
well
it.
done.
Those things are the only things that you can really count on. So we'll cover all that and more.
Was it you I was talking to? I was speaking to somebody off the air. I vehemently disagree with the Palestinian protesters. I'm against Hamas, and I'm all about Israel and protecting themselves and everything else. And I'm sort of torn because I love that. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, you feel like you want to root for him to interrupt her.
Yeah, it's like I'm rooting for them to interrupt her.
But it just shows the weakness of playing both sides of the fence because you don't make anybody happy. And on the same side of that equation, you have Trump, who's just saying, "No, I'm pro-Israel. I don't want any death. But listen, Israel needs to do what they got to do."
Yeah.
And he gets no protesters.
No, because everybody knows. Everybody knows where he stands. And you're right. He hasn't had one protester.
When's the last time that you've had a protester interrupt a Trump event?
I don't remember one, honestly. Oh,
I remember it was like in
early on.
15, 16. Yeah, throw him out of here. Get
Throw
rid
him
of
out,
him.
no coat. I mean, we had a lot of fun with that. But I mean,
his mom can pick him up. Remember that? Did you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, he's gonna call his mommy. Mommy, I've been kicked out of the Trump rally. Come get me.
Yeah, it's all Kamala, and it's all her campaign is getting all the love from the haters.
Yep.
All right, Chris Hand is coming up next. I didn't bring any candy. Do you have any candy? Did you bring any?
I did not. I wanted to keep up the illusion that I wasn't stealing from the kids.
I have some in the car.
Joan's going to have a great drive on the way home because she's got all of her candy. Yep. I forgot to bring some from the, from Riker's big bucket of candy. So I bet she's counted all of the Reese's peanut butter cups because he knows that's what I like. So.
And he's hid them all.
Oh, that would not surprise me in the least if they hid them all. Anyway, Joan, what's coming up?
Hey, the Daniel Penny trial gets underway today in New York City. We'll take a look at it. Also, that weak jobs report for last month, it was made worse by what the government did to the previous months, too. We'll explain those stories coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 8:53 on WTN. Are your relatives coming to your house for Thanksgiving dinner? Let Busy Bee help you by ensuring that your home is in-law and relative ready. Now, Busy Bee has a limited number of 14 SEER 1 and 1.5 to 3 ton split heat pumps for only $69.95. Now, this system offers a great balance of energy, efficiency, performance, and year-round comfort for residential homes. How about $750 off of an upright tanked water heater with circulation kit or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? Buy a basic air duct cleaning, and we upgrade you to our next package level for free. And don't forget about the Beehive Club. Now, remember, I've been a Beehive member for a long time. You can actually give a Beehive membership to your in-laws. Now, if you're already a Beehive member, you qualify for that additional membership for your in-laws. Bringing families together the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. For satisfaction guaranteed, call them. Their phone number is 615-775-7833. They are your Rude Pro partner, busybeehvac.com.
Populations of animals. I mean, think about the white-tailed deer and how when Ed started, and maybe even before Ed a little bit, they started, working to bring these populations back. And now we have these sustainable populations that we can hunt.
Yeah.
The story of the eastern wild turkey and what's happening with turkeys. So I would consider all these things great successes. The conservation efforts that have been worked on by the personnel for years, I would think that it's a great success story for our state.
You're going to see some footage from an old film that was produced here at the agency in the Game and Fish days, and which shows some things like, the wife taking care of the animal that the officer, the husband, had to bring home to take care of, because they got a call, and times have changed. Now we have the rehabilitators that help out with that kind of thing. And
thank goodness. We got to be really good friends with some of those little animals. And got my first commission in 1972.
Okay, yeah.
At that time, it was a little different. You know, the whole law enforcement world was different then. So anyway, we got the first commission in 1972 and worked all over the state. It was really great to be able to do that. Pretty much, you had one uniform. And I noticed in the movie too, everybody wearing ties. You know, for years and years, you had to. If you wore a long sleeve shirt, you had to wear a tie. It didn't matter if you were doing enforcement or sailing a pond or whatever you were doing. You had that tie on.
Oh wow!
Wow! And then everybody looked forward. There was one date, and it kind of moved. It was generally around April the 1st. You switched from long sleeves to short sleeves, and you didn't have to wear a tie. And everybody's going, "Come on, April 1st."
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis with Super Talk 99.7 WTN and Nashville's Morning News. Right now, we are bringing results for our clients using both our radio and digital assets. 2025 is going to be a huge year, not only here in Tennessee, but of course, across America. If you want to jump on board, again, we're offering great incentives. Find us online, 997WTN.com, and let's talk.